Moving right along. Footloose and fancy free.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Kapow!
Kapow! Yo-yo ma!
Yo-yo ma!
And from music video sins, Barrett Share.
What's up? What's up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only so many ways you can say hello.
It really is.
And I think we've covered 90% of them.
Yeah. How long do you think this dilly thing is going to last for Bud Light?
It doesn't have long.
I don't think so, because they had the What's Up thing, and then they had the Budweiser
every single
thing.
fad that they've ever come up with has had a shelf life.
Yeah.
And this should have had a shelf life of one commercial, but it had, they had a series, and eventually people are going to be like, you know what? It'll probably be. It'll be the next Super Bowl commercial, and people will be like, that was fucking stupid, and then they'll go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
You know what I think is interesting is watching Progressive try and manage, because flow was a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the point where I know enough about how commercial acting and royalties work to know that she must be really expensive at this point, which is why the last few commercials have been shoving this Jamie guy on us instead of her. And I don't think that's any coincidence, because he's much less expensive than she is at this point. But they haven't phased her out completely. Anyway, I just think that's pretty fascinating.
And they also tried to put in those other two dudes from the competing insurance company.
Yes.
They tried to do that for a while, too. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's like she's so expensive at this point that they're like, well, let's put this dude in.
If you can...
And by the way, in the series of Progressive commercials, I fucking hate that dude.
Oh, man. I mean, the guy in real life might be totally charming. But his character here, the way that they've chosen to write it, is obnoxious.
Yeah.
I want to punch him in the face.
Yeah, like when they first put him in, it's like, I feel kind of bad for that guy. Now, no longer feel bad for that guy.
That goddamn commercial with the choir where he keeps cutting them off. I don't feel it.
Oh, my God.
I don't feel it. I don't feel like I actually want to break my TV when that shit comes on.
Yeah, I do too.
God damn.
I do too.
Whereas if you're, to bring it back to the point, if you're Budweiser, if you can come up with something that is flow-like, that the fans connect to, but isn't an actual actor that you have to keep paying, like a Dilly Dilly or a Budweiser Frog, of course you're going to run that shit into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll find something else in a year and move on.
Yeah. We're going to go back on our road trip.
Road trip. Speaking of beer.
That's right.
Speaking of beer.
On the road again.
The most time-honored tradition of all, the road trip.
Oh, the places you'll go.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
We're going to go to New Mexico.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a New Mexico.
This is one of those states I don't think I've ever been to in any form or fashion.
Oh, my God.
either.
It's fucking beautiful.
Okay.
You would be really
You dig
into
it the
this.
most?
You dig it the most because it's got the White Sands. It's got Albuquerque. Is Albuquerque where? Yeah, Albuquerque's where Breaking Bad takes place.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That city's fucking beautiful. Like they even like their overpass bridges on the interstate and stuff like that are like ornate and everything. It's just absolutely beautiful. They got the Mexican green chilies and or New Mexican green chilies. It's fucking awesome. And then you got the mountains at the northwestern part of the state, and it's awesome.
All right.
Yeah. So to start us off, we have a really huge hit, City Slickers.
That was a big hit, right?
It was a huge hit. And it may be the last time Billy Crystal had a big hit too, because
Maybe.
there was that period of time there where Crystal sort of just fell off by the wayside there. Like after that, like every movie he came out with.
My Giant French Basketball Player.
Yeah.
I caught some of that recently, actually. Forget Paris.
Yeah.
It's Forget Paris is a weird movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Because he gets with, is it Deborah Winger?
It's Deborah Winger. Yeah.
Deborah Winger, and then like has to take care of her old dad, who's played by the doddering dude that voices the evil surgeon in Nightmare Before Christmas. The guy is always. He was in Christmas Vacation too.
Oh.
Yeah, so Billy Crystal has to take care of that dude. And then, not because he has to take care of that dude. That's not what breaks him. He has to end the marriage because he loves basketball refereeing that much that he has to go back into it. This is Forget Paris. This is not City
I was
Slickers.
about to say. I was like, we started off with City Slickers, and then we went into Forget Paris.
The City Slickers is very charming.
It is.
I love it.
Yes, it is.
I think it holds up pretty well too, in the sense that by taking the whole point of this is to take them out of the city, the technology, the modernity of life, and put them into this cowboy lifestyle. So it's not dated really in any way, other than I guess modern people in this situation would be checking their cell phone all the time.
Yeah.
But everybody is good in their role. Everybody is funny. There's bigger ensemble at work here than you might think if you've never seen this. It's not just him and Daniel Stern and
Bruno Kirby.
Because Jack Palance comes in, of course, and then you've got all the other people at the camp, like the Ben and Jerry's knockoff guys, one of whom is David Paymer, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the other guy, somebody too. I can't remember.
Josh Mostel?
Yeah, it was about Josh Mostel,
Mostel,
who was the principal in Billy Madison.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
But I really enjoyed this. Jack Palance won the Oscar for this too.
Yes, and did a one-arm push-up on stage.
Yes, he did.
Was that the year? Who was hosting that year?
Oh God,
Was it Billy
92 was
Crystal?
92 was either Crystal or it was Whoopi Goldberg.
I think it was Crystal, because I remember him quipping about Jack Palance several times throughout the night. Like, you should have seen what he just did backstage or some shit like that.
Yeah.
What a weird... the performance is good. It's really good. It's very intimidating. Like, at one point, he's like, I've taken shits bigger than you are.
Yeah.
But, like, that seems like maybe one of those Lifetime Achievement Awards, too, you know?
Could be. It could be. I don't know. It was one of those performances that just sort of, I don't know, it fingerprinted our brains or whatever, and it was one of those that was just stood out because it was so funny and
is there any chance that he was sort of like one of those actors that had never really gotten his due yet, and it was kind of like one of those like Lifetime Achievement / you were really good in this?
Yeah, I think that's what Barrett was trying to allude to, but I don't know if he had never been awarded. Let me see. Let me look at it real quick. He had been nominated 2 other times for Sudden Fear and Shane.
Wow.
And then, so yes, I would think that is probably right.
That's
that he
interesting.
had a little Lifetime Achievement.
He was super well regarded, but I don't think he had been working all that much, at least not prominently before.
Well, I mean,
this came out.
he had done Batman just before that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Jack.
you're my number one.
You're my number one guy.
You know, this may not be the very first instance of it, but it is one of the very best instances of that. He's standing right behind me, isn't he?
Yeah.
Billy Crystal sells it better here than I think I've. Now, that there are still movies and shows trying to do that shit like it's original today.
Deadpool 2 just did it.
Yeah.
They did that whole, he's like saying what he's going to do to Cable, and then he looks over, he's like, he's standing right behind you, isn't he?
Yeah.
But see, even that's kind of a twist.
Yeah. City Slickers is good. Then we go on to Contact.
Oh my God.
Would you say I guess most of this is in New Mexico?
Oh yeah.
Because for the runtime, which is it's a fairly long movie.
It is a pretty long movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot to cover in this movie.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But.
Right. I love Contact so much. I know it probably doesn't rate high with a lot of people, especially because of the ending and everything, but even if you hate the ending of Contact, I feel like everything leading up to that is just, it's amazing to me.
Yeah, it's one of those, I think this is also part of why I like Arrival so much, is that your typical alien movie is not this thoughtful.
Right.
And the aliens are not sending messages, they're sending laser beams. And I think it's natural to fear what we don't know as humans, and to say if aliens ever did make contact with us, they would certainly squash us like bugs, like we do to bugs. But I don't think there's any actual reason to assume that. And I like exploring the idea that aliens might not be hostile.
Yeah.
And might, in fact, want to help out. And, that Contact does that really, really well. I love the intellectual exploration of this signal.
Yeah, and especially the sort of the confusing nature that it comes in too, because and this is exactly how this would play out, especially these days. But they send that, it's the very first ever radio broadcast, but it happens to be Hitler. That's a bad
video broadcast.
Yeah, it's
right?
a video
Yeah.
broadcast. It's a first time that they, that was the first time anything got out into space or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's first off, what is the message they're trying to send with this Hitler video and everything? And, it's like, well, they've disguised some like numbers, some prime numbers in there and everything.
Everything has depth to it. Like, this is noise. This is, the stuff that we're not even really looking at. And then it turns out to be the plans for the machine.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where you have to think and take away the emotion and everything. And that's what, if that happened today, just think about what would happen. People would be like, oh my God, the aliens sent Hitler.
Yeah. Well, that's I think that's literally like what somebody says, because when they first get the image, like they zoom out a little bit and it's a swastika.
Yeah.
Like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Fucking alien Nazis.
Right. It is like, Jodie Foster is trying to convince Angela Bassett in one of her many get in there and yell at people roles and then leave. But she's trying to say, like, maybe it's Jodie Foster's going with all the positive stuff. And then James Woods comes in like, or Zeke Heil, like you're our kind of people or whatever. But
I'll tell you what, it gets shit on a lot, that whole space travel thing, because it ends up being her dad at the end, or the shape of her dad. But when she first goes through that wormhole, like the visuals in that, my jaw was on the fucking floor the first time I saw that, and maybe like a couple more times after that. Because you have no clue what to expect. And then you see like double galaxies spinning around each other.
Double rainbow.
Yeah. What does it mean?
The way that Zemeckis does that particular set piece, he could have gone like the 2001 route or something like that and just had the...
Yeah.
They stop, and then she gets torn somewhere else, and then she gets torn somewhere else.
I was watching Back to the Future 3 the other day, because there's one of these Stars channels that basically seems to be playing all three of them every day. Zemeckis is really good, but it feels like he's not always motivated to be at his best, because we get movies like Flight or movies that to me are forgettable, but man, when he's on his game, he's magical.
Yeah, and
it's not there's a clear, what I think is a clear Spielbergian influence, especially in Back to the Future 3 that I was watching the other day, but it's still unique. It's still like his own eye. And Contact has a lot of that. And somewhere along the way, what was the last Zemeckis movie that you were just like, oh, balls, I got to see that?
This one.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Everything else that he's come out with in the past, this would be 21 years.
I'm looking forward to the stuff, whatever he's doing this fall. What is it? The one with
TV
Steve
show?
Carell. No, the one with Steve Carell.
Oh, the Welcome to Tomorrow one.
Yeah, that one looks pretty good. But yeah, all the stuff that you can think of, like Flight and The Walk and
Polar
Express and Christmas Carol and
What Lies Beneath,
Beowulf and all those
I gotta go see that.
All those type of movies. But I also think that Alan Silvestri probably got snubbed on this score too. I think a lot of times the movie itself doesn't get a lot of attention Oscar-wise, so then therefore music that is as good as this that's in Contact also gets ignored.
Yeah.
And Silvestri, I think, has only been nominated one time, and I can't remember what movie it was for. It may have been Forrest Gump. And that was it.
Is he the one that got doing most of the Marvel stuff these days?
I think so.
Yeah, you know what? I used to at least shit on the MCU scores and stuff like that they're just kind of, they run together and everything. But the more that I watch Avengers type of stuff, that Avengers theme is really fucking great, and that's Alan Silvestri.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that gripe of mine, because I think I was leading that charge of all the scores sound the same. I think that was more like phase 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, as they've grown, I feel like the themes have gotten more distinctive.
Yeah. Silvestri's only been nominated for Forrest Gump for score, and then he got nominated for a song in the Polar Express.
Oh, was it the song the Elf Aerosmith song?
Yeah. It's called Believe, whatever the fuck that is. I don't even remember.
That was the Cher song.
Anyway, Contact, very good movie. Then we go on to Crazy Heart.
Yeah. Did you like this?
Yeah. Jeff Bridges is really good. I mean, this is a thing. This is a performance movie more than it is like a movie that you want to go watch all the time or anything. But Jeff Bridges is great in this.
The music is great, too.
He won the Oscar, So,
yep.
I agree. I had a lab assistant that was that's very beautiful. This was at Vanderbilt, and was an actress, right? And so she'd do like, community theater and stuff like that in there. And I was talking to her, and she was like, yeah, and I was in Crazy Heart. And this was like right after Bridges won the Oscar. I was like, the fuck? And went back, opening scene, when he's at the bar, she's the bartender.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things to see, and I've seen it on the Facebook page and the SoundCloud page with regard to podcast fans, is the occasional, oh, I was in that movie.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Because there's a couple of those that just came in.
Sharp objects.
Sharp
There was one,
objects.
yeah, that was back in the, look at the guy in the blue shirt, and then to the right is me.
Yeah. But yeah, I haven't seen Crazy Heart since it came out, though.
I saw it
man.
the one time. I remember thinking he was good, but it's just like you're saying. He's great, but there's not enough around the rest of the movie for me to want to go back.
You like to pop it in constantly or
Right,
whatever.
right.
It's almost like a Nebraska type of story, drunk ass alcohol with music. Alcoholic old guy that is trying to get his career back, has to open for his old protege and everything, and but it's T-Bone Burnett did most of the music in this, and it's so good.
Yeah.
The music is good.
Yeah.
Then there is so this is going to be divisive, I think, with maybe not people in this room, but people who are listening. But Easy Rider, I hate this movie.
This movie can go away.
I fucking hate this movie too.
Yeah,
man.
I can understand people, attaching themselves to this idea of driving cross country and freedom and whatnot and all this other stuff. But when you watch the movie, I mean, you really have to. I think you may have to be on the same drugs that the characters.
This is you will enjoy it probably if you're on drugs, and if you're not on drugs, you almost definitely won't.
It's so boring. And Dennis Hopper directed this. I think this was his debut. But the Dennis Hopper, Peter Fonda, and then and Jack Nicholson pops up in this too. So it's notable for things.
It is. There's interesting stuff in this, like when they're wandering around Mardi Gras, all LSD'd up and everything, and the all the stuff with Nicholson kind of in the middle there, where he bails him out of jail and he's all drunk and everything. In fact, he has to come out of the drunk tank because he got arrested for being drunk, and then he bails them out because they were arrested in that.
I thought life was like a Mardi Gras, a never-ending party. Well, that's my shitty Marge impression from the New Orleans musical.
That's right. That's like the opening numbers or something, right?
New Orleans. Dun, 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 dun.
It's not good. It's not good.
I didn't like it at all. But would you say this is in any way inspired by On the Road, the Jack Kerouac?
No,
I thought it was mostly inspired by drugs.
Well, no, it's I don't know for sure, but there was a movie called The Trip that happened, not the Steve Coogan, the other one, that Peter Fonda was in too. Mm-hmm. Explored a lot of the same things: counterculture, peace, freedom, things like that, hippies, communes, and so I believe this is part of like a connected to that movie spiritually or otherwise. Mm-hmm. So I think The Trip informed this more than something like On the Road, which was a very specific story about 3 or 4 very specific people. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, there may be some tangential.
I mean, there's
aspects.
probably some crossover as far as themes and everything are concerned, but it's that same old hippie crap, man. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Then there is, Jesus Christ, Employee of the Month. Okay, we named it. Let's go on.
Let's move on.
Movie sucks.
Jessica Simpson, though.
Yeah.
You could have told me it was Jessica Alba or like any other Anna Faris.
He did. He did a movie with her too. Yep. Was Good Luck Chuck, I think.
Yeah.
Good Luck Chuck.
Jessica Simpson had a second. She was in Dukes of Hazzard. She was in this.
She wasn't any good in any of them.
She wasn't good in any of them. She had a music career for a second.
I had this messed up before because there are movies that are very similar, and I always get that Dane Cook, Jessica Alba one mixed up with some other movie that we haven't. It might have been My Best Friend's Girl, but that's Kate Hudson. Yeah, it's Good Luck Chuck that Jessica Alba's in. But anyway, we named it. We went on. Fancy Pants. I've never seen this. It's got Lucille Ball, Bob Hope.
Nope. Have you ever seen this?
No.
I figured this was right up your alley.
It would be. Sounds like
in the 50s, Bob Hope, fairly young Lucille Ball, where he's like a British actor that's paid to come over and like he's got to juggle a few different roles of like how people look at him. It's whisper thin, but a lot of those comedies were back in the day, and it's just I used to watch this with my grandmother a lot. So.
Yeah, I bet it's good.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. Bob Hope back in his prime was fucking hilarious.
Well, even
man.
as a kid, when he was in those 80s specials and stuff,
Yeah.
I used to like Bob Hope. And I didn't know anything about his younger days, but I thought he was funny then.
Yeah.
So 2/3 of the Man with No Name trilogy were in New Mexico for a few dollars more, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which is considered the big classic out of that group.
Yeah.
Apparently, A Fistful of Dollars was primarily in Texas.
Yeah, and then there was a big like New Mexico land revolution or something like that. Which is weird because The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is actually a prequel to Fistful of Dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So don't know how that works, but man, these are some really, really good movies.
They are good movies. I've never gotten quite on the level of like loving these movies like a lot of people do. But The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a good movie, and especially that showdown at the end. That three-way showdown is fucking phenomenal.
It's a different three-way than like Wild Things.
Yeah, it's a different one than Wild Things for sure. I mean, in this one, Denise Richards doesn't get naked.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it's very, very strange. Then there is,
But Nev Campbell does.
yeah, Nev Campbell does. That's why it's so wild. It's a twist. Then there is, man, this was so hugely popular in the last decade. It's like insane. High School Musical.
Oh,
High School
wow.
Music, all three of them, baby.
All three of them. Two of them were TV movies, and then the third one got a theatrical release.
Did you see it? The third one?
I did not.
Oh, wow.
I was in New York when this one came out, and really, there's like a theater story involved with that, which I'll probably save. But I mean, it's nothing big, but it's one of those things where you're like, you can't believe the shit. And it really has nothing to do with High School Musical 3. It just has something to do with an incident involving that movie. But anyway, this brought Zac Efron into the world.
And really,
this is how he was born.
Yeah, I mean, Vanessa Hudgens was a big phenomenon at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she released an album or something like that, but she
Probably
was like
did.
a big pop culture zeitgeist type of figure for a while. Also was unfortunately hit one of the first ones that were hit with those nude leak photos things. Ashley Tisdale we thought was going to be like a big deal, but really Zac Efron is really the main thing to come out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like he's probably pretty good, but like outside of Neighbors, has he been good in anything?
I mean, he's been solid in everything that I've seen him in. I mean,
Was he all right in Baywatch?
I mean, Baywatch is he calculates that a little bit too much. I mean, like it dials it up a little bit too much. I think in Baywatch, because he feels like he's in some sort of movie that movie is trying to be.
Yeah.
And it's never that movie.
Hmm.
So yeah, Baywatch. Fuck me. But
I still believe in Efron.
yeah,
I think there's more there
everything
than
that
meets the
I've
eye.
generally seen him in, he's either solid in. I don't think I've ever thought he was bad.
He's doing something now. He's doing something, I want to say it's Jeffrey Dahmer related.
Oh, really?
He's making something now that's like a serious role.
Well, good for him. I wish he would stop being so veiny. Like he's gotten to the point where he's like Stallone veiny.
Yeah.
Oh, veiny. I thought you said
Veiny.
vain, and I was like,
No.
well, we don't know that he's vain.
No, he's just veiny.
Veiny.
He's
That's okay. Well,
like,
that's
That's what
probably
it. That's what it generally always takes, though, right? If you're sort of cast in this like bunch of movies where you're basically just playing good-looking dude or whatever, and who's got the veiny muscles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it takes doing something that's sort of outside the box to finally get people to realize you're more than just that.
Yeah,
Okay.
like Copland, right?
He's doing a movie called, he's playing Ted Bundy in a movie called Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile.
Mm.
And it's got Lily Collins, Haley Joel Osment, John Malkovich, Jim Parsons, Dylan Baker. Looks like a pretty good cast.
Yeah.
So that probably is not a comedy where he's shirtless, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
If he's playing Ted Bundy in a shirtless comedy role, then we've
Yeah.
gone a lot further off the rails than I thought.
That's very true. We've yeah. But High School Musical, would you say
It's harmless.
good for its time?
The first one was kind of engaging. It's not nearly up to the level of like Grease, but for probably the generation right behind us, it probably is in that same discussion. Like Grease, High School Musical, just as good quality. But you can tell it's like Disney Channel production level quality. The singing is fine, the songs are fine, but it's nothing special.
All right.
Then we have the remake of The Hills Have Eyes, which is one of the sickest fucking movies I've ever seen.
Me too.
Alexandra.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is, who did High Tension, which is also a gross fucking movie. I mean, he's that kind of he's that kind. Yeah, I know. Some people love the buckets of blood and guts and everything, but
what was it? Last time the Modern Horrors guys were in here, Luke was saying like he was describing like the worst movie, like dealing with pregnancy and like disgusting vile shit. He was like, I took my girlfriend on our first date to see this movie.
Yeah.
Like, God damn.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't connect to movies like that, man.
No, me either. I had a very poor time watching this movie.
Me too.
And it's like it's chosen poorly. Then there is the Hitcher remake.
Yeah, the Sean Bean one.
Oh my God! So I didn't see this. I did see the original, the Rutger Hauer, friend of the show, Rutger Hauer, and Jennifer Jason Leigh and C. Thomas Howell.
C. Thomas.
But I don't think I may have seen this and just let it go out of my brain.
It's almost beat for beat, if I remember correctly. It's almost beat for beat the exact same as the Rutger Hauer one.
Okay,
just with Sophia Bush.
And it's a simple story. I mean, a guy is hitchhiking, and and he's fucking crazy, and he tries to get away from him, and he keeps finding it. That's
right.
The plot.
Yep.
Sophia Bush, though.
Sophia Bush.
I
Yes.
like me some Sophia Bush for sure. Then there is another fucking remake, Let Me In.
Yeah.
Which is the remake of Let the Right One In.
This movie, I'm going to say something mean, but this movie's good.
Mm-hmm.
But this fucking movie is the reason why they excuse every single foreign language remake to English. Like I just read yesterday, they're going to remake Train to Busan in English.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I guarantee you, anyone defending that is going to cite Let Me In. Let the Right One In was good, but so was the English remake. God damn it.
Yeah.
Pisses me off. If you can't fucking deal with subtitles, I'm sorry.
This is one of
I don't want to be that guy.
This is one of the few times that I like the original and I like the remake.
Yeah.
It's a rare moment for me to have that. But then this is also one of I think we may have discussed this before. One of the like 7 or 8 horror remakes that Chloe Grace Moretz has been in.
Yeah. All right.
Like Suspiria is one that's coming out later on this year.
Carrie.
There's Carrie. There is Amityville Horror.
Oh, yeah.
What else? I'm going down her list right now.
That's insane.
Dark Shadows.
Oh, yeah.
There's what else is there? There's one more, I think.
She was probably in It.
Yeah, she probably was. Found a way. The Eye was another one.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost like got a remake of a horror movie. Let's call Chloe up,
She's
man.
probably in the opening of this Halloween movie coming up.
Yeah, she probably is. Found a way.
So you've seen both of them?
Yeah.
How close is this one? I've only seen the remake. I
don't
haven't seen
remember
the
the remake being too close. I mean, it was the same story, right? I mean, it's the same story, but I don't think some of the same actions happen in this that movie. I don't remember. I remember just liking the remake and saying that was pretty good, but there were some changes.
But yeah, this is a good movie. Richard Jenkins is really good.
Mm-hmm.
She grew up with him, right? And he is not a vampire. Is that right? Or did she make him a vampire later on?
See, if I only see a movie once and it was years ago, those are not the kind of details I'm going to be able to remember off the cuff.
Yeah,
my recollection is that he was not, but I saw it one time and remember thinking it was good.
Yeah. But she's fucking vicious and sweet in this.
Yeah,
she's really good.
She's talented. It always frustrates me when I see her in a movie like The Fifth Wave or something, where I'm just like, God, it's like 4 months of your life you could have been making like a good movie, but you made this.
So Abby's companion Thomas abducts a local teenager and drains his blood into a jug, only to accidentally spill all the jug's contents. I think he's just helping her.
Yeah, he's
not-
just helping because
yeah.
they met when they were kids, and she hasn't aged, but he has. Obviously.
Yeah, so yeah. Anyway, I do remember liking it. Like I said, I don't remember.
I think I'm actually going to
everything.
want to rewatch it again here down the road if I
it's
get a
good.
chance because I remember liking it. But I will probably watch the original first. Watch the original.
I want to
again
see the
first.
original because again we've talked about this before, but I liked the girl with the dragon tattoo, the original, more than I did the remake, and I liked the remake.
I
too.
liked Open Your Eyes more than I liked Vanilla Sky.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Of course, I only watched it. This is counter to my argument I'm making. I only watched it because Cameron Crowe was making a remake, and at that point, Cameron Crowe was solid gold, and I wanted to know, for some reason, what he would have changed. He changed a lot, by the way, but I still enjoyed the first one better.
Then there is Little Miss Sunshine.
What a good movie.
Yeah, I didn't like it as much as you guys did, but it's good.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is everybody's a fucking character in this. I know Greg Kinnear is essentially the straight man, but like everybody's got their fucking quirks.
Yeah, and he's Dick in this movie. He's the
is kind of a dick, yeah.
final domino that I think gives the movie its heart is when he lets go at the end. It's like, I'm going to get up on stage, and because up till the pageant, all he cared about was his fucking 9 steps deal.
Yeah.
Because he's got this self-help idea where he wants to sell a book. And I think, is it Bryan Cranston? I think it's Bryan Cranston is the guy that can make it happen.
Oh, I don't remember.
And he leaves the hotel and drives 300 miles nearby to where there's a conference where he knows this guy is so he can confront him. And what about my 9 steps? And basically, this may be why I like this movie more.
It is.
It is Bryan Cranston. Because just like in Sideways, he has this moment where his dream is crushed. And Cranston just says, you're nobody. Like, he basically doesn't even know who he is.
Yeah.
And he realizes my 9 steps is not going to happen. But then he's still, like a day later, he's able to find joy in his daughter's over-sexualized celebration of what a pageant is supposed to be. And Paul Dano's great in this.
Yeah.
Toni Collette's great. Everybody has a
Fucking
nice little
Steve
chance
Carell,
to
man.
shine.
Yeah.
I love the bit where the car breaks down, and the only way they can start it is by pushing it. Because I had a car in college that literally had that, where I would park on a hill, or I could do it myself. I could just push it. It wasn't a heavy car, I guess. But anyway, I find it very charming. It's certainly not going to rock your world one way or the other. But puts a big smile on my
You'll
face.
be smiling quite a bit during it, even with the salty like Alan Arkin character. You know? Now he won
the Oscar.
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
One thing that this movie has inspired that I'm getting exhausted of is, and maybe this wasn't the first movie to try it. Obviously, Abigail Breslin's little thing at the end is, perverse and everything at the end.
Yeah.
That's something that movies now do with regularity.
Oh,
they
yeah.
have somebody going to their talent show or whatever. It happened in Fist Fight. It happened in Logan Lucky, although they twist it because she's going to sing Umbrella.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
then,
right. Yeah,
then
yeah.
she ends up switching the song, but.
What does she switch it to? It's God Bless the USA.
West Virginia.
Oh, Country Roads. That's
Yeah.
right.
But yeah, I'm seeing this more often now where like it seems like every single time, and maybe it doesn't happen as much as I think it does, but it seems like every time somebody's got that talent show, they've got that perverse, a lot of bad language and everything. That's something that I have a hard time laughing at in movies a lot of times because because everybody just kind of like just docilely listens to it in shock instead of like taking the person off the stage and everything.
Am I remembering wrong? Isn't there a talent show in Mean Girls where like that kid from the Mathletes is like a shock comic?
Oh yeah,
because that's when they do their
skimpy outfit dance. But doesn't he do like some kind of like
roasting humor?
Yeah.
I want to watch that scene again.
Yeah, he does.
But yeah, you're right. I think that has become a thing to subvert the talent show, subverting your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Ryan Johnsoning of talent shows.
Yes.
Did you guys see do you guys watch any Red Letter Media?
I haven't seen any in a while.
When they did their Last Jedi review, which was pretty recent, they waited a long time to do it, and they didn't like the movie. They said something about I hired Ryan Johnson to weed my lawn, or he put weed killer, or wait, I hired Johnson to do something in my lawn and he killed all my plants. He told me he was subverting my expectations. Sorry, I like Ryan Johnson.
Yeah. The Man Who Fell to Earth. I've never seen this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Great Nirvana song. Oh wait, I haven't seen this. I don't think. Is this who's in this? Bowie? No, I've never seen.
But you say there's no Bowie music in this.
It's the weirdest thing. So this is Bowie's first acting gig or first main acting
It's the
gig.
anti-Labyrinth.
Yeah, exactly. So he's an alien. He comes to Earth to get a bunch of water to save his dying planet. And while he's here, because he's got an alien brain and all that stuff, he starts inventing stuff that we don't have. So he gets super rich. And when he gets super rich, he gets into drugs and alcohol, and he gets into this girl, Candy Clark. And so
I want to see this movie right now.
Oh, it's so great. It was on Mubi not too long ago,
Sounds
actually.
awesome.
And so, yeah, he spends, ages and ages and ages here, but he doesn't age. And Bowie plays it with so, he's dynamic in this. He's stoic at first. He's got to put on a human face. And then once he gets all drunk and loopy and stuff like that, and, having sex with Candy Clark and all that, it's wild, man. It's a really good movie. The music, apparently there's some weird fucking contract thing to where he couldn't write any music, nor could they use any of his music in this movie, even though he was the star of it.
Oh, so he was probably, I guess he was under contract with a label, and any songs that he came out with would have been owned by that film studio instead of... What a weird world we live in.
It is, but it's really, really good.
I may have to watch this.
Nicholas Roeg did this.
Nicholas Roeg?
Roeg.
Okay.
R-O-E-G.
Roeg.
Then we have The Missing, one of the many middle movies that Ron Howard's made in his lifetime.
This is the Ron Howard one.
Yeah.
So this is Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones, Kate Blanchett, Evan Rachel Wood.
Saw it once, thought it was pretty decent.
Yeah, the same here.
It's fine.
Yeah.
He's got a Comanche name or something like that, or a Native American name, and yeah, they have to fight off. Oh no, it's a bunch of traffickers that are coming through and taking the women and selling them and stuff like that, and they're going after their missing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know what Comanche means? Sorry, I'm quoting Hell or High Water. You're not with me.
What does it mean? What did he say?
So enemies of everyone. And then Ben Foster's like, you know what that makes me? Comanche.
I gotta watch that movie again. It's so good.
Then we have The Muppet Movie, which was the first Muppet movie, right?
That's
moving right along. Footloose and fancy free. Actually, this movie is magical.
Yes, it is.
I don't know that there's very much New Mexico in it.
No, it's where they break down in the middle of the desert.
That's where the frog leg guy and giant animal and the Old West ghost town and all that stuff. God, I gotta watch this again. I haven't seen it in forever.
Oh, I love it.
I've never seen this.
You would love it.
Yeah.
If you liked the one with Jason Segel, which I think you did.
Yeah.
The reason I liked that one so much is it was the first one to really kind of capture the magic of the first one all over again. I would probably still say Muppets Take Manhattan is my favorite Muppet movie, but I don't think it's quite as magical as the first one.
I think this one is the best Muppet movie, and Christmas Carol's up there for me.
Christmas Carol is I won't argue against that because it's fucking awesome.
Muppet movie's great, man. That's got that classic line where Fozzie's driving Kermit and everybody, and he's like, bear in his natural habitat, a Studebaker.
Well, and it's full of dumb pun humor too. Like you're gonna come to a giant fork in the road. Drive by a literal huge metal fork in the road. Let's say something quippy like, "Wow, I didn't expect that. I don't believe that."
And then we have Natural Born Killers.
Oh Jesus.
So I may be different from everybody in this room. I'm not sure. I love this movie.
I kind of hate this movie.
Yeah.
I'm right in the middle. It's just I feel like it's everyone at their excessiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Like the script Tarantino wrote, Oliver Stone's directing, Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. Everything is dialed up to 11, and it's just I get it. It's too much for me.
Yeah, Tarantino did write the screenplay, but he disowned it essentially because Oliver Stone changed what his idea was to have the killers be celebrities. And that's somewhat shown in the movie, but I don't think anything is really meant to be funny in that movie at all. But I usually don't like it when a movie is this hyper edited and crazy. Mm-hmm. Something about it always worked for me, except certain parts. I didn't understand some of the fucking bullshit he's cutting in there, but I thought this was where Woody Harrelson, officially shed Woody from Cheers. Was this
Sure,
movie.
yeah,
now, that is probably true.
And I really like Juliette Lewis in it too. I like her. I like her especially in the Tom Sizemore scene, where Sizemore just thinks he's just gonna have, basically rape her. And she just destroys that dude and everything.
Yeah.
But Robert Downey Jr. is great. Now, if you want to talk some laughs, Robert Downey Jr. is hilarious in this. This is probably at the height of his own coke habit.
I think you're right. Yeah,
because
I don't want to impugn people's reputation, but it seemed like everybody was on a massive amount of cocaine.
Yeah,
including Oliver Stone, including maybe Woody Harrelson was the sanest one there because he was just smoking his weed in the corner while everybody else was like...
But this is probably in our lifetimes one of the most divisive movies that I've ever come across.
For sure.
Cause it is really one of those hated or, Jeremy's in the middle, but I think for the most part, I think you either hate it or love it. And for some reason I ended up loving it. And I just love how
there was a lawsuit. There was a real life killing that there was an attempt to blame it on this movie because the
Grisham behind that?
Grisham spoke out about it.
Okay.
But I don't think he had anything to do with the lawsuit. I did a speech in college about this whole thing. That's why I remember it so well. But yeah, it basically went into court with the defense of they had seen this movie and it inspired them to do these killings. And I honestly, it's terrible that I don't remember this, but I honestly don't remember how it worked out in real life. But I'm guessing that didn't work in terms of being a successful defense.
Right.
I want to say they probably ended up going to jail for that because that's such a terrible precedent if that's the case, right? I saw it in a movie, so I'm not responsible for doing it.
Oh, well, yeah. I feel like no matter why they did it, they would end up in jail.
Right. One would hope.
Yeah. I mean, unless it's like the Twinkie defense or something like that. But
did you hear? I saw this morning that somebody threw a stale hot dog bun at Bill Cosby and he fell down some steps in prison.
Good.
Yeah, I didn't shed any tears. I was kind of glad it was stale because that probably hurt a little more.
Yeah,
like a fresh hot dog bun
definitely impacted him more. If it was a soft bun, then it would have just bounced off of it.
What was that, mosquito?
Right. You're not going to get anybody to fall down the stairs that way. Yeah, this is also a byproduct of JFK, this Natural Born Killers movie, because in JFK, Oliver Stone was experimenting with all this different film stocks and all this other stuff, and it was and so I think the success of that movie directly led to this going overboard with it.
Yeah,
and
uses it again in Any Given Sunday too.
Yeah, and I think that's basically, even U-Turn kind of does that too.
Yeah.
It's basically his style from here on out until it finally just runs it into the ground and everything. But in this room, it's a wreck of Warren.
Yeah.
Picking up the pieces.
Have you seen this?
No.
Oh my God.
Woody Allen is in it, but he didn't write or direct it.
Alfonso Arrau directed
Oh
this.
yeah, it's the guy who did like Water for Chocolate and there's one other one I think, but that's the big one that he.
This is a comedy about Woody Allen as like a Texas rancher, New Mexico rancher, I guess, killing his wife and then chopping her up and burying the pieces. But somebody trips over her hand, who's blind, and she can see again. So they think that this dismembered hand is some sort of like deity. So people start praying to it. It's not funny, and it's stupid. It's awful. But let me tell you the cast in this. Woody Allen has nothing to do with writing or directing this, but is starring in it. David Schwimmer is the priest. Kiefer Sutherland is one of the officers. Cheech Marin, Elliot Gould, Sharon Stone, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Lou Diamond Phillips,
Christ.
Fran Drescher. Like, there's a ton of fucking people in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, awful.
And it's forgotten a time until
Well, rightfully so.
like I forgot all about it.
By the way, so Alfonso Arau also directed Walk in the Clouds, the Keanu Reeves
there you go.
Nice.
pregnant lady movie.
Speaking of,
But-
go ahead.
The other one the other thing that he's probably most known for in this room is he was El Guapo in 3
Yeah,
Oh,
Guapo.
wow.
Yeah.
It's a sweater.
Yeah.
Speaking of Woody Allen, I read, those like oral histories about movies that come down every once in a while,
yeah.
like that one about Goodfellas we all read. I was reading one the other day about So I Married an Axe Murder.
Oh.
And I can't fully recommend it because they didn't talk to Mike Myers and they didn't talk to somebody else. Might have been Bruno Kirby. Somebody else big in the movie they didn't talk to. But they talked to a lot of, like, the original screenwriter. And originally that was set in New York, and the main character was, like, basically based on Woody Allen. Like, they were playing up his awkward Woody Allen-ness. And I just thought, what a different movie that would have been.
Oh, yeah.
And, like,
Oh, yeah.
everyone involved says that, Mike Myers definitely took the script and made it his. Set it in San Francisco, made it about a Scottish redheaded guy instead of a Jewish guy, and made it his and put his stamp on it. But there was clearly some bitterness early on with the original writer because his vision was kind of stomped on. Anyway, I thought that was I'll send it over to you. I thought it was an interesting read, but I can't give it a full recommend because if you're going to do one of those oral histories, you got to talk to every living person that you can, especially
boys heed.
fucking Mike Myers, who plays half the characters in the movie.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Did you see the one on Rounders that came out a couple weeks ago? This week, actually.
I did not.
That one's a
I'll
long read.
I'll read the shit out of that, though.
It's crazy because it's from the perspective of Koppelman and Levine.
Yeah.
And
David
how
Levian.
Levian, like they, and we'll go all into it and everything, but like they were actually a part of not only the screenplay, but like the casting process and actually like the shooting process. They were there from like soup to nuts.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because they were like, you're sitting there and you're like, Martin Landau's coming to set for like 5 days. That's amazing.
Yeah.
John Malkovich is coming into our movie. It's
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
amazing. It's like exactly the way we would probably react if we were in that situation.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they were really happy even with when actors like Edward Norton would change stuff too. I remember them talking about it was like, because I guess there was a point where they asked him if they were upset about that. And, no, it's great. Keep doing what you're doing. So
Yeah.
then
we're all going to spend the evening reading oral histories about movies.
Yes.
After we trade links.
that is definitely on my to-do list today. Then there is Rat Race. This movie I saw it once and I don't remember much about it, but basically it's like those it's a mad world type movies where everybody gets goes on a cross country scavenger hunt type of thing. This time was it David Zucker who did this one?
It was Jerry Zucker
Who did it. Jerry.
I knew it was one of those mother Zuckers.
Yeah, exactly.
I like this movie. It's John Cleese basically is the rich guy who brings together this ragtag group. I don't know if it's ever explained how he chooses them, but it's a couple dozen people, and they're off to the races to find this. I think it's like $1 million or $10 million, what have you. And there's like a timed thing. Wayne Knight is in it. Whoopi Goldberg is in it. Seth Green is in it. Cuba Gooding Jr. has a bit of fun. On a bus full of Lucille Ball impersonators. And the bus breaks down and they all go into that, Rick, all at once. There's like 30 of them. I think this movie is charming and fun, but I certainly wouldn't call it great.
Yeah.
And it's about 15, 20 minutes too long.
And like
and it's got 1,000% too much Smash Mouth.
I was about to say it's one of the 500 movies that had a Smash Mouth appearance at the end somewhere. Yeah.
You got to be careful, though. Smash Mouth is still vigorously defending their honor on Twitter to
Oh,
this
they
day.
can fuck the hell off.
Ooh, that'll
fucking
incite some-
Smash Mouth. Fucking
Smash.
come at me, bro.
What's
fucking
funny?
Mr. Mouth.
What's funny though is that they was it so everybody thinks that All Star is the only hit that they've ever had, so like people always keep saying that type of thing on Twitter, like, well, Smash Mouth, what is the only song they have is All Star, and then they always reply something like, well, we had this and this
Walking
and this
on the
and
Sun and
Walking on the Sun was fine, all right, but then after that they fucking suck. So
they did
fuck them.
I'm a Believer, the Monkey
Yep,
song.
that was for Shrek.
They had a bunch of hits. And we should not belittle the fact that they had a bunch of hits.
Yeah.
But they're
But
shitty.
we should make fun of the fact that they haven't had any in a long time.
That's true.
right.
the
They
Rat
are-
Race song was.
They
a
are
bit of a-
well known for a wide tapestry of songs.
They are. And you know what? They should. I saw that Avril Lavigne is making a comeback.
I
She's
saw
gonna
that too.
put a new out, and it made me think Smash Mouth, the same era. You should come back too, baby.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back to Avril Lavigne, by the way.
Oh,
We're gonna
good.
come back to Avril Lavigne.
Yes.
Sweet.
Swing Vote. I did see this. It's
I
a
did
Kevin
too.
Costner movie where I guess everybody knows that he is the one vote that can decide.
Yeah, his stupid daughter casts his vote for him because he's too drunk and doesn't show up, and she's at the poll. Because it's really important for all 8-year-old girls to see their daddy's vote.
Yes.
And when he doesn't show up, and of course the polling place, we're in rural New Mexico apparently. The polling workers they leave to take the trash out or something. She scurries over. I just saw this like a few days ago. She scurries over to the voting thing, puts in her dad's information, and votes. And then honestly, I haven't seen the whole movie in years, and I stopped watching at that point the other day. But basically, I think what happens is they find out, and then he has to cast his own vote. Somehow he gets a do-over, and the whole nation knows it, and it's come down to one vote.
Yeah.
So this is actually one of the biggest suspension of disbelief asks a movie has ever made. If you know anything about government, that a single presidential election could come down to one vote is preposterous. But it's not without its charm.
Doesn't it doesn't have its almost Citizen Ruth type thing because you have
Yes.
two sides trying to convince him of what vote he should make.
And
all
ultimately, I'm not even sure the movie tells you who he voted for.
Oh, really?
I think it's more of like the power of him owning his own decision and his right to vote and making a choice. And that's all his daughter ever really wanted. I think that's the case.
He,
I don't think it ever
he
tells
probably
you.
wrote in a candidate.
Yeah, he wrote in like Bob Dole.
What was it? Kelsey Grammer on one side, and was it Dennis Hopper on the other side?
I don't even remember that. I just remember there's something I find likable when Costner plays belligerent losers.
I think you're right.
Like he's doing a little bit of the tin cup kind of characterization in this guy, and I find that enjoyable.
No, I know. I do. I enjoyed this. I don't remember much about it, but I enjoyed this movie.
Yeah. All right.
Then there's Thelma and Louise. We've definitely talked about Thelma and Louise before. Not sure if we've done it in a road trip segment, but I actually recently saw this. It came on about a month ago or so. I rewatched it. It's such a good movie. Yeah, Thelma and Louise is great. This is
great.
So not a movie that you would expect Ridley Scott directed, but he
That's
did.
true.
It's one of those. I like the plot of it because it's a woman fleeing an abusive situation and everything, and then the whole thing is a powder keg. Once she almost gets raped in a parking lot, and Susan Sarandon comes in and shoots the guy, and it's like it's one of those moral dilemma type of things. But they go on the run after that and everything, and Harvey Keitel is chasing after them, and but there's a lot of people in this. Like Christopher McDonald's in this, and Brad Pitt obviously shows up. But
These are two Avril Lavigne.
Avril Lavigne.
These are two pretty ladies. You know, Susan Sarandon's kind of funny looking. You know, like
What do you mean?
like she's just kind of funny looking. But like she doesn't have traditional, I don't think, features of like model type of looks. But man, I dig it.
Yeah,
I'm
I've
down.
always kind of dug Susan Sarandon. Yeah,
The last time I spoke about Susan Sarandon, there was a huge misunderstanding, so I'm saying nothing.
And Gina Davis, my God.
yeah. Gina Davis is an all timer. But this is. I mean, it's a buddy road movie when you
it's an
strip
awesome
it
movie.
down. But it's really good. It's got a great ending. It's got a famous ending.
That's right. Parodied in Wayne's World.
Yeah, and The Simpsons.
That's right.
How long before they remake this shit?
Oh God,
give
it's
us,
got to
like,
be within 5 years, right?
Grace
Louise, the early years.
Because I think because Callie Curry wrote the screenplay for Thelma and Louise, and she's recently gotten what did she? Was it Orange Is the New Black that she was a part of, or something along those lines? I mean, yeah. But I saw her name pop up recently. She's a creator of Nashville.
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
Okay,
The city or the show?
the city, of course. Do you think all those cranes and everything that's government in action? It's fucking Callie Curry.
Of course.
Then we have There Will Be Blood. We have
right.
talked about this a million times. It's a fantastic movie. Go fucking watch it.
That's
Yes.
right.
Watch it again after you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, watch it 2 times. Yeah, There Will Be Blood. It's now we didn't. Well, I guess we didn't talk about it in California,
Right.
But it starts in New Mexico. Is this where his oil or his silver mine is? Yeah.
So that whole 15-minute opening with no dialogue, where he's in there mining by himself.
Yeah.
He built all of that shit by himself,
I
dug
know.
all that, and then fucking breaks his leg and crawls
that's
his
the-
ass
that's
to the
the thing.
fucking bank.
That was the thing that some sort of philosophical essay type of thing on this movie was talking about, was like, you see him crawl out of his mine and he starts crawling, and then it just goes to the place where he's weighing it and getting the money for it and everything. It's like, one thing that you may have missed in this whole thing is that motherfucker crawled from that mine all the way to this. It shows you how determined he is in this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Then there's Thor. By the way, in the email that you sent us, you have Thor and you have twins, which reminds me of
Thor's Twins.
Thor's twins.
Hunt for Red October.
Hunt for Red October.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So those two movies are back to back there.
I may know that movie a little too well.
Yeah. So Thor.
Everything on Earth takes place in New Mexico.
Yeah, for some reason.
For some reason.
Well, they've got a lot of research, especially the SETI stuff in Contact. They've got a lot of open
have
space.
we we figured out what the fuck is going on there? Because they've been studying this abnormality for months and months, and then finally Thor shows up. I've never understood that. Is there some sort of when he was sent down to New Mexico, it took months and months for him to get there? Or no, it can't be, right?
Weren't they
Aren't
already
they
there?
even saying that it's the Bifrost? That's what it is
Yeah,
that they're
'cause that's
trying
where
to
it
study.
goes.
And
Yeah,
then, of
yeah.
course, it opens when Thor arrives. So why was it opening earlier? That's what I'm saying. I think I'm saying what
Yeah.
you're saying.
I think people had gone back and forth from Midgard to Asgard, right? I
Okay.
think people have made that trip before.
All right. I guess
Maybe.
Odin did if he knew about
But-
Norway.
But
Yeah.
wouldn't that be something that's constantly happening? See, we're going to get the Marvel nerds on us on this one.
all right.
I've never understood, though, why they see an abnormality for months and months and months, and then finally Thor shows up on one fateful night.
I saw
No, it's yada yada for sure.
I saw a fan theory that Jane Foster and Natalie Portman will be key to Avengers 4. I'm not buying that.
Jane Foster and Natalie Portman. Or
Jane
Oh,
Foster
that'd be
is her
awesome.
character.
She's playing 2 characters. She's playing Jane Foster and she's playing actress
It'll be
Natalie
like
Portman.
Ocean's 12.
Yeah.
where they keep making comments about how Jane Foster looks like
Yeah,
Natalie
you look
Portman.
exactly
Yeah.
like Natalie Portman.
And you know what? I have mixed feelings about these fan theories, because on the one hand, I love fan theories. I love that people get passionate enough to try and come up with. I came up with all kinds of Matrix fan theories, but I just didn't have Twitter to put them on. But at the same time, there's such a long wait for Avengers 4 that they're starting to get ridiculous. I saw a detailed one the other day, and any fan theory with much thought put behind it, even an ounce, ends up getting articles written about it on comic book and movie websites and blogs and whatnot. And I saw one that was like, Avengers 4 they're going to undo Thanos' snap as a way to introduce the X-Men and Fantastic Four. And I'm just like, do you not have any concept of how movies get made?
Yeah.
Do you think that could happen and we would be surprised by it? Anyway, sorry, I've derailed.
But I don't understand. I actually don't understand, though, why New Mexico? Why was this a path? Why wasn't it Norway? Or why,
right, yeah.
like,
you're going to have a gate to Midgard. Why there?
Yeah, and obviously it wasn't always New Mexico, but apparently there's enough Norse influence that their football team in that town is called the Vikings and
Oh, yeah.
all that shit, you know.
yeah.
I never understood all that. You're talking about some yada yada-ing. There's a lot of that going on in Thor. Anyway, enjoyable movie overall.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Dutch angles in that motherfucker.
Our buddy
man.
Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, I love. It's such a weird choice. He makes weird directing choices, man.
He sure does.
I don't understand. Cinderella.
Well,
like
what do
this?
you expect? He's European.
Although, at this point, I think the next 15 years of his career is going to be Agatha Christie and him playing Poirot.
It might be. Did he do Dark World?
No.
Okay.
That was that dude who did Alan Taylor, who was Game of Thrones, and I think he did Sopranos too. But, and he also did Terminator Genesis. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
This goes to show.
Goes to show.
Yeah. Moving on to Twins. Okay, let me tell you how dumb I was when I was 11 years old. Okay, so there's a part in there where Danny DeVito, like Schwarzenegger, tells DeVito that we're twins, and DeVito's like, "Oh yeah, it's like I was looking in a mirror or whatever." I thought that they were pretending like they actually looked alike in that, when I
That's
first
funny.
saw the trailer or whatever. Obviously, it was like 2000 I figured out. No, yeah, so the premise of Twins is that I guess this institute is trying to come up with like a superhuman, and the egg splits and all the junk and crap, they call it, went into DeVito's splice, and all the good stuff went into Schwarzenegger. So like they were separated at birth, they never saw each other and everything, and then Schwarzenegger comes in and he meets his brother, and then comic hijinks ensue.
Yeah. There's like a whole arc about Danny DeVito going out to get laid one night.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, and there's a whole thing with him trying to sell a jet engine.
Yeah.
He either stumbles upon a jet engine, or I don't know how he gets the jet engine.
This is Ivan Reitman.
Yeah, Ivan Reitman,
and it
who later did Junior with this crew.
Oh,
it grossed $216 million
It's a huge
worldwide.
hit. Huge hit.
I mean, it's not. It was a funny movie, like you said, when we were kids. But
well,
can't imagine
remember also that Schwarzenegger doing comedies was considered just the funniest thing, considering his other movies that he had been doing.
Well, this is Kindergarten Cop era.
Yeah, Kindergarten Cop either came out, was it the year before or was it the year after?
I think it was a year after.
I think it was the year after, but Twins might have been that first attempt at him being in a comedy.
Yeah, because when they did Junior, I remember reading about like he was trying to recapture that magic, because he had his comedy era and gone back to shitty action, and he's making like Eraser and bullshit like The Sixth Man.
The
Sixth Day. The Sixth Day. There is a
That'd
movie
be
called
awesome.
It's a
Sixth
basketball movie about a kid coming off the bench.
Man, and it's a clone ghost.
Yeah,
It's a ghost cloning movie.
Yeah. But Twins is a 1980s as fuck comedy.
Yeah, it is.
I doubt that if I watched it today, there would be anything that was that funny in it. But at 11, you better believe it was funny.
Oh yeah, just the fact that they were twins was funny.
Yeah.
That was how the whole movie got made.
Yeah.
What if we made a movie where this guy and this guy are actually twins? We'll figure out how to explain it later.
Yeah.
But what if that was the visual? Oh, you're all laughing? Let's make that.
Right. Then we have, and I hate to say it, but I've never seen either of the Young Guns movies.
Really?
Oh
man.
Wow. All right.
Have you?
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to figure out exactly how hard I want to go at Chris for not having seen them, because I'm in this era of my life now where I don't want to go hard at anybody for not seeing
This
them.
might be an instance where you being slightly older makes a difference.
It may be.
Because I was not allowed to watch. Now, Young Guns 2, I think, was PG-13.
Yeah.
But I had not seen the first Young Guns, and I still have that weird, even though I could watch Young Guns 2 without any problem, probably.
You definitely could.
You would get them mixed up too.
But then, Young Guns was definitely R-rated, so I never saw that.
Well, you aren't missing anything. It's listen, it's an enjoyable watch.
Yeah.
There are a handful of really memorable moments when the shootout at the house when Billy the Kid goes, "Hey, I see you got so-and-so sharpshooter out there." And he stands up and shoots him and then calls out, "Yeah, he's not with you anymore, is he?" It has moments like that, but it is exactly what the Brat Pack making a Western should feel like.
Oh, yeah.
And it is going to feel like a Brat Pack movie, which keeps it from ever feeling like a true Western.
Yeah.
But if you can accept that dichotomy, that weird symbiosis, I think you could have fun watching. The second one, I would just give the bird forever.
No,
There's no reason to watch that.
It's Christian Slater's in the
Is
second
it the
one.
second one where the Bon Jovi song comes from?
Oh, yeah. That's the whole soundtrack was Bon Jovi. He had written Wanted Dead or Alive before, and they wanted to use it in there. He was like, I don't know if that really has anything to do with, I understand the title of the song, but the actual content of the song doesn't. So then he wrote Blaze of Glory and the rest of the
Yeah, it's just one of those movies like Navy SEALs or something like that.
Yes.
Where I wasn't old enough to watch it, and then by the time I was old enough to watch it, it was not anything interesting to me.
Yeah. No, I can't fault you for not watching it. If you sat down and watched it, you'd probably be like, why did you want me to watch this? But at the same time, you'd enjoy some.
No, it's enjoyable. But I think both of them are enjoyable. Because the second one has a bonkers cast. Like every young, hot dude is in this.
But it has
young and
it has,
hot
like,
in
no
1989
plot.
or whatever it is. Yeah. Well, it's Billy recounting like his younger years, right? Or is that the first one?
It's Pat Garrett trying to kill him.
I get those two confused.
Well, exactly.
So much.
Anyway, let's move on.
So that does it for the main body of it. We'll go through this list that Barrett has prepared here. Ace in the Hole, which I feel like I thought I saw this, but I'm not sure. Kirk Douglas is in this. It's like he's a newspaper guy.
Yeah.
But I bet that's a good movie. I mean,
It's got Ace in the title.
it's got Ace in the title. It's got Kirk in his title. Then there's And God Created Woman. I never saw that. It's Rebecca De Mornay was in that.
That's right.
Rebecca De Mornay.
Yeah.
It's like the Seinfeld
Charity
employee.
She's being compared to the Seinfeld.
George tries to take this sullied book that he took into the bathroom back to the bookstore, and they won't accept it. They flagged it. So
Yeah.
eventually he ends up at this like Goodwill store, and the woman there, he's like, so he says something to her and says "Miss," and she's like De Mornay, Rebecca De Mornay, but she's like, she's not,
Yes.
obviously. Anyway, sorry.
There's a weird obsession with Rebecca De Mornay in that series, right? Because there's a part where it's the muffin top one.
Yep.
Where the woman comes in and says, "I'm Rebecca De Mornay from the homeless shelter or whatever."
I think it's the same person.
It's the same
The
person?
same character, because I think he's not a Goodwill. Yeah, but it's like a homeless shelter.
It is
He's
the
trying to
same
donate
character.
to it.
But yeah, there still must be some sort of weird. That show had a few weird obsessions.
Yeah. Appaloosa, which I remember coming out. I never saw this. Ed Harris directed it. He's in it with Viggo Mortensen.
Dude, this cast is awesome. Have you not seen this?
I saw it. I saw it once, and I liked it, but I don't remember it very well.
Yeah, man. Viggo, Renee Zellweger, Jeremy Iron, Lance Hendrickson. Yeah, it's a good.
It's good.
Stuff. Yeah,
It's good. There's a bunch of Billy the Kid movies, apparently.
yeah. There's a ton of Billy the Kid movies.
Yeah.
It's funny. My son came in when I was doing this list, and he was like, "Who is Billy the Kid?" And I was like, "Well, he was an outlaw." And he was like, "Well, is he kind of like the Lone Ranger?" And I was like, "Well, no, like he did bad stuff." And he's like, "Well, why are there so many movies made about him?" I was like, "I don't know, kid."
Then there's Blind Horizons, got Val Kilmer and Neff Campbell. Is this like a sequel to At First Sight or something?
Oh, that would be awesome.
It would be awesome.
Blind Horizons. That's got to be some kind of like airplane pilot.
No, I think he's like a sick dude, and his family comes to visit him. or something like that.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. Then there's a movie called Fleisch, which I nearly misread as Fletch the first time I saw it. It's an organ harvesting movie.
The poster is of this. She's running away from this truck, and then we'll read the description that it's an organ harvesting thing, and it's like
It must be good.
it's
I
funny.
like my organ harvesting movies to have Jude Law and Forrest Whitaker in it.
Yes.
It's also German.
It's German.
It's German. I don't even know why I put it on there.
Yeah. Then there's, okay, so this is a good Jeremy test here. A movie called The Flock, which has Richard Gere, Claire Danes, and Avril Lavigne.
This one has escaped me.
Oh no!
What is it about?
It has Jeremy written all over it,
I would
man.
have seen this. I would have put Richard Gere in Broke Down Palace before I put him in another movie with Claire Danes that I haven't seen.
Hypervigilant employee of the Department of Public Safety who, while training his young female replacement, has to track down a missing girl who he is convinced is connected to a paroled sex offender he is investigating.
And that girl is Avril Lavigne.
Holy shit.
Definitely watching this at some point in the next few weeks. What's the year on it?
2007.
2007.
It's right at the height of Avril's popularity.
Oh, okay.
One of the many movies that has been people felt were responsible for the 90s indie movement, Gas Food Lodging.
Yeah, did you see this?
I've never seen this. Alison Anders directed this. This is why Four Rooms exists, right? You have Gas Food Lodging and Reservoir Dogs and El Mariachi and whatever Alexander Rockwell did.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Alison Anders was one of those seen as up-and-comers who was going to be one of our big directors and everything. And guess wasn't.
I don't know.
Which
I
is a
always
shame.
confuse this one in my mind with that one about the girl in the grill.
Girl on the
Spitfire Grill?
Oh, Spitfire Grill. Holy shit. Has that got Amber Tamblyn in it?
I don't know. No, but you say Gas Food and Lodging, and I feel like I'm looking at the poster for Spitfire Grill. My brain makes weird connections.
Yeah, that's a little weird, man. She did Paris, Texas, Alison Anders, and she did one of the Four Rooms thing. I mean, really, A Crush on You is a TV movie. The Lie, Ring of Fire, like Ring of Fire?
Rain of Fire or
No, Ring of Fire. It's a TV movie. God, she just has not done anything that I even recognize after Four Rooms.
Yeah.
That's weird. She's done some TV. She did Sex and the City, Riverdale, Orange is the New Black.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
By the way, Amber Tamblyn was not in the Spitfire Grill.
Oh, okay.
Somebody named Allison Elliott was. Then we have High Noon. I know I've seen this. I don't actually remember it though.
I've seen it on The Sopranos when Tony Soprano is watching Gary Cooper movies, and High Noon is usually on there.
Yeah.
Never seen it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not that much of a Western guy that, you know, those type of movies like really resonate with me a lot, but I do remember seeing that. And then there's Hondo, which I never saw that, but I do remember there being a 3D television broadcast of this back in like the 90s.
Really?
And you could get 3D glasses and watch Hondo on your regular ass television and watch it in 3D. And so like, yeah, like occasionally a fucking arrow would come at you or something. But I still to this day, and you know what? I probably dreamed that. That probably didn't happen.
Oh God, I hope not. That sounds just stupid enough to be real. Like some executive in the 90s was like, let's do a big 3D televised version.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I know I got the perfect movie. Hondo.
Yeah.
All the kids are talking about it.
Yeah, I said I didn't see it, but I did see parts of it because I wanted to just kind of see what the 3D was like or whatever. But yeah, watch that be completely off. I'll be completely fucking
I'm gonna
wrong.
be crushed if that's the case.
I will be too. Then there's Maze Runner: The Scorch Trials.
Fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I've seen all the Maze Runner movies, and that one's the worst one. If that's saying anything.
How many? 3?
There's 3 of them.
Yeah. Then there's Outrageous Fortune, which I never saw. Bette Midler and Shelley Long. Did you ever see this?
I bet it was adorable.
I'm sure it was. Power. Sidney Lumet directed this. Another Richard Gere movie. I never saw this either. Then the new Predator movie was shot in New Mexico, or was it a Roswell set? Yeah, set in there. Then Stagecoach is an all-time classic. It's a John Ford. That's has almost every director cites as. I haven't seen it in forever, but good movie.
Yeah.
And I know that some people out there are like Stagecoach deserves a lot more talk, but you know,
sorry.
Yeah,
this is the world we live in, right? There's too many good movies, past and present and future. We got to stop. Film fans have got to stop like pinning people to a wall and saying your opinion doesn't count because you haven't seen X.
Yeah.
Well, like really, we shouldn't say that about any movie ever.
The Tao of Steve, is that Donald
Logue?
Logue?
It is Donald Logue.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Have you guys not seen this?
He's like, this is another blockbuster thing that I've gone past a million times, but he's like a Lothario or something like that, right?
Yeah, he definitely thinks so.
Oh, okay.
It's more that he has his own life philosophy that, well, I don't remember it well enough to speak that confidently about it. I just remember really liking it, and it sort of exposed me to Donald Logue in ways I hadn't been.
He exposed himself to you?
Prior, yes.
He's always exposing himself.
Donald Logue, I wish that guy would come back, man. Like,
well, his daughter, he had that whole daughter.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah, never mind.
But, no, I think they found her. She's okay. She came back.
And he was he's in Cloverfield Paradox. So
that's right.
Showed up.
So he's still doing some work. Yeah, he's the guy on the
guy in the.
They're watching the news broadcast from space for some reason, and he's the
oh,
talking
that's
head.
right. That's right.
Then there's Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. I've never seen
Boom.
this.
Don't watch it.
Yeah,
this is the classic. Came out in the era of Pulp Fiction. Cast some famous people. Super rapid fire dialogue. Crime drama. Go. And it just doesn't come together at all. There is literally a town called Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, and the action takes place there. It wants to be Way the dog, and it's barely a whimper.
This it struck me. I can't believe that.
Did I say Way the dog?
Yeah, you did.
Way of the
you mean
gun.
the Way of the gun,
gun.
the McQuarrie thing, right?
I was The Vanishing came on the other day, and I was watching that. Kiefer Sutherland. This is a remake of a movie. I just recently bought the original because I haven't seen it. But The Vanishing. Have you guys ever seen that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Kiefer Sutherland is his girlfriend is Sandra Bullock. They go to a gas station. She mysteriously disappears. He looks for her for a long time, never gives up. Finally, he meets Nancy Travis. Nancy Travis is his new girlfriend, but he's still obsessed with Sandra Bullock. I was sitting there I was like, how old was Kiefer Sutherland in The Vanishing? This came out in 1993. I've always thought Kiefer Sutherland was like one of those guys who's easily in his like 60s by now or whatever. He was 26 when he did The Vanishing.
Wow.
Or 27 or something like that. It was like, it just blew my mind. It just goes to show what it is, what time does to, when you look back, you like, oh, he's so much older.
This happened this week when Will Smith turned 50.
Yeah.
And I was, because Will Smith celebrating his 50th birthday, I was like, come on, that asshole is 60.
Yeah.
He's not 50 because
Right.
I'm 43 and there's no way he's only 7 years, but he is.
It's because they do so much stuff, or at least in their prime, they do so much. Kiefer was in everything in like the late 80s to mid 90s.
Oh yeah.
That means in Stand By Me, he really is about the age that he's supposed to be.
Right.
Which, is, it blows my mind thinking about that. Then we have John Carpenter's Vampires. That movie is terrible.
Oh, it's awful.
It's so bad. And then Wild Hogs, which is also bad, but it made gobs of money.
Yes, it did.
Oh my God. It was this is one of those movies that I'll always remember because I'm usually really good about figuring out if a movie's going to do well or not. And I was like, it'll do okay or whatever. And then it had an opening weekend of like $40 fucking million or some shit.
It was something, but it tapped into motorcycle enthusiasts, road trip enthusiasts, geriatric comedy enthusiasts.
Yep.
And it somehow collected this massive audience. I'm honestly shocked they haven't made a few more of these since.
Oh, me too. I don't know. Maybe it's some Tim Allen type
Maybe
shit.
William H. Macy found his dignity again.
Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, Travolta and all that. Good God, the fuck, man.
Did you ever see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Yeah.
And it made a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's New Mexico, guys, and we're gonna get to some recommends and warns.
And even questions.
And questions.
That's right, baby.
Holy shit.
It's what a fucking podcast. Thank you, New Mexico.
Totes amazeballs.
It won the Academy Award
Oh, for what?
for best movie ever made.
All right, what do you got?
Okay, so for my recommend, I'm gonna go with Three Identical Strangers.
Oh, you
I
did
still
like
haven't
this?
gotten to that.
It's very, very good. Obviously, from the trailer, the main crux of it is that, three triplets were separated and didn't know about each other, and then one day one of them goes to a school that the other one had left, And so a lot of people at the school were like, "Hey, glad you're back," and everything. And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he runs into a buddy of some sort, and he's like, "Oh, okay, I know what to do." Because he's like, "I know that this guy didn't go back to school. I know he didn't. So I know where he is. I'm going to call him." And they call, and that's where their first the first two sort of first talk to each other, and they drive him over and they meet each other and all that. And then of course the big news story that occurs from it, the third one emerges. So obviously there is a lot more to the story than just, oh, isn't that weird that this happened. The why of it is fucked up. And you know, I'll let you guys, when you watch it, you know, see it for yourselves.
I think I've heard about the why, and I think it's
I wouldn't be shocked if you've heard of the why,
yeah.
actually, because it's very much geared towards your former field.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm very interested in this story.
Yeah, and there's also even more to it too, because the fun like in front of the cameras type stuff. There's an interesting psychology to that as well. How we want them to be so much alike that we'll look at all the stuff that they're the same in, but we won't look at their differences. And that's another big part of that movie.
Interesting.
So,
I gotta get over there.
Fantastic. It's exactly the way, you know, a documentary should be. Or
That's
whatever.
awesome. So there's nobody showing up unexpectedly and asking gotcha questions or anything like that, or spraying water onto a house.
No, there's
or
none of
anything
that.
like
No.
I thought that's what documentaries
and
are.
I think they may have paid their sound guys.
Perfect.
My Warren. Now talk about movies that I grew up hearing about and never got around to seeing until very recently. Cocktail.
Oh my God! I passed this on the TV Guide like 2 or 3 days ago. Was that when you were watching it?
Yeah, probably so.
This is a Warren?
Yes.
What? Oh,
this
man.
movie is shit.
No,
you guys.
no,
Yeah.
it's lovely.
Nostalgia,
No.
baby.
Dude.
I saw it not too long ago. It's fine.
Oh, this movie is such shit.
Oh,
Think about
come
it.
on.
Think about it for a second.
I don't
You are going to think about it, because I'm sitting there like, I just wanted to be entertained. Like, oh, this is going to be some 80s nostalgia, whatever. Won't be a big deal, whatever. And then I'm sitting there like, okay, so beginning of the movie, he gets a bartending job, and he's like going around trying to get jobs like on Wall Street and Madison Avenue and all this other stuff. And I was like, okay, all right. And then he ends up, he ends up being full-time bartender with Brian Brown, who I had pulled out of my ass, by the way. Brian Brown, I pulled out of my ass.
Nice. Nice. I keep
The
pulling
actual
gerbils
Brian
out
Brown.
of mine.
No, it was one of those weird things. I was like, okay, that guy, I've seen him before, and I've never seen FX or FX2 or it's been just like, I think that's Brian Brown. And sure enough,
Is
was.
he Australian? Or
He's
is he,
Australian, yeah. So he's full-time bartender with this guy. And then there's a point where, Gina Gershon shows up and starts a relationship. It's fully sexual right off the bat and everything. Brian Brown makes a bet with him to prove a point, and then they have a fight. Yeah. And then he goes to fucking goddamn Jamaica.
Yeah, man.
And it has no bearing on anything.
He cannot. He's so emotionally broken by that moment.
I have to go to Jamaica and start my own bar.
But you're missing all the good stuff of them flipping up the bottles and doing the hippie shake and shit like that.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's not good at all. It's like, oh, it's good for a trailer. It's not good for the movie. The movie, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
But they draw in the crowd like he is his mentee. Brian Brown's
just for
mentee.
that one part though. The rest of it, there's none of that.
Well, he comes back into his life, and they reestablish.
No, this movie gets even stupider. He's in Jamaica, and then Elizabeth Shue comes up and is like, got a friend who's all fucked up. He goes over. And he goes over there and he says, probably okay, but let's call an ambulance. And he's a big fucking hero after that. She and him start getting together after that because, you got somebody else to call an ambulance for.
What a hero.
What a great guy. I could have done that shit. And, but we all know it's not because he called the ambulance or he got somebody else to call the ambulance. It's because it's Tom Cruise.
That's right.
He's 26 at the time this movie comes out. And so like they start dating and it's like, oh, it's all fun and everything. They have sex at a waterfall and, and that's probably where she gets impregnated, but that's later on down the road. So on a bet, Brian Brown comes to Jamaica because he's gotten married to Kelly Lynch, and he gives him a bet that he can't get this rich girl in bed or something like that. This is after he's had all these wonderful times with Elizabeth fucking Shue, who is at the height of her powers, Elizabeth Shue. And he's like, okay, I'll take that bet because you're Brian Brown and we had a thing in New York. Why not? Fuck it. And then so he fucks this girl. He fucks this girl and Elizabeth Shue sees that he's taking her off drunkenly and everything. And like, she leaves and like Cruise for like 10 minutes of the movie is actually trying to make this rich woman relationship work. It's the most goddamn bullshit movie I've ever seen in my life. He gets in a fight with a sculptor and he like knocks the guy's like, he's like, hey, how did you get the cockroach to stay in place to make this? And they get in a big fight and then he's like, okay, I really want Elizabeth Shue back. Goes to her father's penthouse and goes, what did you expect? That was a bet. You have to take a bet in America. Brian Brown told me that I had to take this bet. And then she reveals that she's pregnant. And then he's like, oh, I really want to be with you now and everything. This movie is fucking terrible.
Oh my God. I've enjoyed not having anything to say right now.
No, everything that you just described is awesome. You're missing cocktails and dreams. You're missing fucking Kokomo.
No one would go to that bar, by the way. Cocktails and dreams. Nobody would go to that. Oh, it reminds me the even more bonkers part of it is that Brian Brown is in this is married to Kelly Lynch, and Kelly Lynch is obviously like wanting to bang more guys and everything. And there's a part where she's talking to Cruise, trying to seduce Cruise, and she's like, what was I supposed to do? One man for the rest of my life? And he's like, yeah, that's marriage. and like, so there's a point where they're at this big boat party and everything. And Brian Brown tells him like, my life is shit. You wouldn't believe how shit it is. And, there's the thing with Kelly Lynch. He comes back to the boat. Brian Brown has killed himself. And then he sees the one note on the bulletin board that says cocktails and dreams.
Yep.
And he makes that's his bar. I've told you the whole movie.
Yeah, you have.
Oh, by the way, Elizabeth Shue, who is pregnant, has champagne at the end of it too.
Nice. Just a little bit.
No, she fucked up that kid.
Yikes.
Anyway, that's a massive warn. I've told you the whole movie.
I'm telling you, it's so much fun. I love it. I've probably seen it within the last year or so, and it confirmed how much I love that movie.
All right.
I'm watching the beginning of the end of a friendship. A cocktail destroyed my friendship with Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to cheat. A quick recommend, if you haven't ever seen it, is Alfred Hitchcock, Vertigo.
Mm-hmm.
It was on the other day. I've only seen it once, and that was when I was a teenager.
I actually may have seen this exact same time.
You might have. And I was passively watching, meaning I was doing some work on the computer and then turning to watch every now and then. And one of the things that this movie, it's so quiet for so long because it just goes for 10, 12 minutes without dialogue while he's like following her and watching her walk to places and look at water and whatnot. Because Hitchcock had this restraint. I bet the script for Vertigo is like 42 pages because there's so much of just watching the action and that becomes the tension. You don't have to explain everything away. God, I had such a good time watching it. It made me realize there's probably a bunch of Hitchcock I haven't ever seen. I need to go watch.
Yeah, this is one of those movies where like your protagonist is really not a good guy.
Right.
that's one of the there's a whole psychology to the male gaze in this movie that's they cover, and I don't remember who it was that had there was some documentary I saw or whatever showing the scene where he's in the museum and he sees her for the first time or whatever, looking at that painting, and he's like, it would seem like what she's seeing is important here, but we are always drawn to what he is seeing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the whole thing where he's like trying to make her back into that thing is it's some of the most grotesque shit you'll ever see Jimmy Stewart do in a movie. It is. But it is utterly fascinating at the same time.
It's a gut punch of a movie, I think. It's just, I had forgotten how great it was. And I don't want to be the guy on a podcast being like, have you ever heard of this movie called Vertigo? By Alfred Hitchcock? But, so I have a Recca Warren and a Warren. My Recca Warren is a movie called Anthropoid.
I heard of it.
It's not as crazy as it sounds, I promise. I know you're picturing like space, like lizards.
I am.
Space lizards. This is actually about a real assassination attempt during World War II in Czechoslovakia, where and this stars Jamie Dornan from 50 Shades of Grey and Cillian Murphy. And the only other name I recognized was Toby Jones. But they're both Czechs who had gotten out of the country prior to Nazi occupation. There are, in the country, a network of underground, true Czech patriots who communicate with London, which is where most of the Czech government has fled to. Mm-hmm. That's right. Just take out an E. And then they come up with this mission where there's this high-ranking Nazi official who's running the country, Czechoslovakia, and they're going to assassinate him. And so Jamie Dornan and Cillian Murphy are the two guys that sneak back into the country and then have to convince the resistance that they're actually Czechs who were actually sent from London, because at that point they had lost communication with London. And it's basically the story of them planning this assassination and then attempting to carry it out and the fallout after. It's a Recca Warren for a few different reasons, because this is directed by a guy named Sean Ellis, who made a movie called Cashback, about a grocery store stopping time.
I think I remember this movie. Didn't see it though.
Okay. And there's some cool stuff in here. And it gave me vibes at times that a little bit Inglourious Bastards without the humor, a little bit Munich in terms of the planning of the assassination stuff. And then it ends in this huge shootout where they've escaped to this church, and the Nazis have figured out they're there, and they're grouped in two different groups in the basement and up in the top level, and the Nazis storm them. And it's like 20 minutes of this shootout that was almost, it's not Saving Private Ryan-esque, but it's really watchable. And I was struck by how good Jamie Dornan was in this movie, because honestly, I have not seen him do anything outside of 50 Shades.
What did he do before 50 Shades? Like,
something on TV, maybe? I think he was on something on TV, like one of those shows I never watched, like Spartacus or something.
Yeah, it probably was something like that.
Rome or something.
He was in Marie Antoinette.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Everybody was in. Yeah, fucking Tom Hardy, wasn't he in Marie Antoinette?
Yeah, I think he is in that. Yeah. Anyway, you're not going to watch it and go, that was an A+. Jeremy, good recommend. But you're going to enjoy yourself enough that you're not going to hate me for telling you about this movie. And if you want to explore the story, I looked it up. This was a real assassination attempt of a real official. So it's at least historically based. Obviously, I don't know how much of what we see actually happened. But it's weird for a movie to have people in it like that I recognize. And it's only from like 2016. It's only a couple years old.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyway, Anthropoid was the name of the mission.
What a weird...
Or Anthropoid, whatever it is. That was the name of their secret mission, and hence the name of the movie, which sounds like a sci-fi movie, but it's not.
Jamie Dornan was also in Once Upon a Time TV show.
Oh.
He's the huntsman. And then there was The Fall, another TV series that he's been on before. So.
Right. Well, I was impressed. I thought, maybe there's life for him after 50 Shades after all. Because in 50 Shades, granted, it's probably not him, but he doesn't show us anything in that. Even Dakota Johnson shows us some charm in those movies, and I'm not. You're
not putting those in my butt.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Jamie Dornan doesn't show anything. That character is so awful. Like there's no room for it. I don't think.
My Warren is a movie called The Neighbor that I kind of regret watching. Why are you laughing? Have you seen this?
Because You never cease to come up with movies that are completely off of my radar.
Honestly, I think that's just a function of how I watch television, how I choose to put something on the television. Most often going to be something I've never seen.
This is not The Neighbors.
No. And honestly,
or Neighbors.
Yeah, I was about to say, not even
The Neighbors was the John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd one, and then Neighbors was the Zac Efron.
I tried Googling this movie, and The Neighbor was some last-minute Live, Die, Repeat title they slapped on it. And it had some other title like One Last Nest to Roost or some bullshit. and they changed it because there was another property that had that title. This is William Fichtner is in this, which is the only reason I decided to watch it. And I think he's the only name. Actually, Michael, the guy who played Lex Luthor on Smallville.
Oh, Michael
Rosenbaum.
It's not Rosenbaum.
He's in this. And then the woman playing Fichtner's wife, I recognize her, but I didn't know her name. But basically, he's this guy who's got a college-age son who's just come back home from school for a weekend or a summer. His marriage is dull, and a young couple moves in next door, Michael Rosen, whatever, and hot girl. And
so it's basically consenting adults.
He's like a writer, and he likes watching out the window while she swims in the pool.
It is consenting adults.
Yeah.
And then he starts hearing them fight when he's out in the backyard tending his tomatoes. And then at one point he hears what sounds like somebody might have struck somebody else.
Huh.
And for about half the movie, it's playing this. Is he paranoid? Is he crazy? Just by inserting himself into their lives, almost trying to be like Rear Window or Disturbia or whatever that.
Yeah.
But then like he ends up having a conversation with the girl next door. Are you okay? And then she reveals that they fight a lot. They end up kissing. And he's not.
Listen, you see Billy Fix. You want to get up in there.
Mm-hmm.
He's not even played as somebody who's handsome in this movie. But they kiss. Then his wife either finds out, I can't quite remember, but his wife basically makes him move out. Because I think she discovers they kissed, or at least that he's watching this other girl. And then it just kind of turns into run-of-the-mill. He actually is like an evil guy who's trying to hurt her, and William Fichtner goes over there to try and stop it, but ends up like killing that guy. And then the girl's mad at him, and he loses everything. It's just really not very good. And I if you come across it and you're like, William Fichtner staring at a hot girl, maybe. I'm telling you right now, just keep clicking.
Oh my God.
What do you got?
My recommend is a full-throated thumbs up for A Simple Favor.
Oh.
I didn't know really what to expect with this because I heard it was like twisty and turny, and like we didn't know if it was a comedy or a drama or like a thriller, that kind of thing. It's got elements of all that.
Okay.
So poured in like perfect equal measure. I shouldn't say perfect. The movie's not perfect.
Is it like The Gift, the Joel Edgerton?
Much more comedic
than
this. It's a black comedy. It's got some really fucked up things in it. It's got some really fucked up things.
Oh, really?
But it's so fascinating. So Anna Kendrick plays this mommy vlogger who is basically the supermom. Like she's out there doing stuff. She doesn't have a job. She's widowed. And Blake Lively comes in as like this superstar, everything, like fashion mogul and stuff like that. And through their kids, they strike up to be a friendship. And I'll kind of stop it there because after that, movie goes off the rails and like in all of the most fun ways. Like it's not if I went back and like send this movie or like, you know, really thought about the logic, there's probably some shit that like they yada yada and hand waved about, but I was down with it, man. I was it's Blake Lively is probably some of the best I've seen her play. Like I really like The Shallows, but this is a completely different character. And Anna Kendrick, man, is just on fire, like adorable, mischievous, like to a certain extent. Like it's kind of like a distillation of like all of her best characters. It's very, very good.
Nice.
All right.
And I think you guys would probably like it.
Yeah.
Did they do any a cappella singing in the shower?
Anna Kendrick does some singing along to like a Serge Gainsbourg soundtrack.
I don't know what that means.
He's a French jazz guy.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the same thing.
Okay, I've got a Wreck of Warren too.
Okay.
And I really want you guys to start watching this so I can make sure I'm not insane. Maniac, which is on Netflix.
Oh.
So this is Carrie Jo Fukunaga, who did True Detective. And
you attacked that name with confidence.
Yeah, I think I've just seen it so much.
It's like Joji.
Joji. Yeah, I think he does Joe sometimes.
Yeah,
and then Joji.
yeah.
He's doing the next James Bond.
He is.
And then this is Jonah Hill and Emma Stone and Justin Theroux. Sally Field is in this. There's a lot of like character actors that you've seen. And have you watched any of this yet?
No, I'm actually eagerly anticipating the next words that come out of your mouth.
Well, man, you could sign me up for this as soon as that first trailer came out, which was about, I don't know, a couple months ago. And Emma Stone and Jonah Hill, cerebral mind-bending thing, looked super colorful and things like that. Fukunaga's fantastic. This show doesn't know what it wants to be because like there's some super emotional beats that it really wants you to get on board with. Jonah Hill's kind of like almost like a Zach Braff Garden State type of character. And Emma Stone is like, the opposite of Manic Pixie Dream Girl. She's all dour and like making it on her own and stuff like that. And then there's like elements of like slapstick comedy in here. There's weird like expressionistic type of stuff. It's set in the future, but all the future has like 1980s style computers. And I'm going to watch I've gotten 6 episodes in, and then it goes into like fantastical elements and stuff like that. I'm going to watch the final episode. I think I'm on 7 right now. But I just can't like recommend it because there's elements that are really fun and there's elements that are like really seem important, but then ultimately they kind of cancel each other out. So anyway, proceed with caution. And I've got a quick warn. Have you guys ever watched The Deuce on HBO?
Yes.
Do you like it?
Yes.
Wow. Maybe I just haven't given it enough of a chance. Have you watched this at all?
No, and I should be first in line because I like everything Simon does.
It's David Simon,
David
right?
Simon and all those guys. Pretty much, you have George Pelicanos.
Anyway, I think the show, and I haven't gotten through the entirety of the first season. It's in its second season. I just don't really want to live in that world. Like it's a grody world. It's yes, it's about porn and it's about prostitution, stuff like that. Making it on the streets of, I think it's 70s Manhattan or New York. And I just don't want to live in that universe.
No, I can see that, but it is also an interesting period in time, and this is where I think they sort of flourish, is when they talk about the political side of it and the cops and all this other stuff, where there's an active movement, and we know that Giuliani is the first mayor that comes in and actually cleans all this stuff. That's why Times Square is the way it is now when you come to see it. But this is the Times Square where there was porno theaters all over the place. Yes, there is a lot of prostitution and porn and all that, but there's also people trying to start up businesses without the aid of the mob, and there's a lot of mob stuff and everything. And it's just I think it's an interesting look at an era in time and what facilitated all of this going on and everything. Because at the beginning of it, they can't even do regular porn because New York has some sort of community standards thing, which by the end of the first season, David Krumholtz is like, well, we can show penetration now. And Maggie Gyllenhaal's like, why is that? And it's like, well, something about New York's community standards. It's like, what are they? He's like, we don't have any. And Maggie Gyllenhaal is fantastic in it.
She is good.
And James Franco plays 2 different, he plays twins. I really do like it. I know it's kind of grungy, but I think that is sort of its point.
Yeah. And it does that very well. It's just like, it's also a little bit too slowly paced for my tastes, but that's just me.
Well, then you may not like The Wire then.
I've tried The Wire, but I need to try it again.
You're a dick, Barrett.
I know.
Just
I also
watching
like
the beginning of the end of a friendship today.
Hey, we've got time for questions.
Hey!
Question.
I got something to say. I want the truth.
I am listening.
I want the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to do that drop again for the first time.
Well, you know what's funny is that could actually fit the first question.
It probably could, yeah. What is your favorite scene between a protagonist and antagonist? This person has 2 excellent suggestions. First answer would be the Requiem scene between Mozart and Salieri in Amadeus. Very good. And the runner-up would be the prom drop-off scene in Spider-Man Homecoming, which I've seen probably about 30 times at this point. I don't know why, but whenever it's on, I land on that scene and I'm going to watch it all the way
I tweeted
through.
just the other day, but I was watching that movie again and had never noticed this before, but it does that English beat montage where Aunt May is teaching Peter how to dance.
Sooner or later.
Yeah, but the lyrics foreshadow hard what's going to happen because it's like, sooner or later you'll run away and let me down. He's going to leave the dance and let down his date. And there's another line that says,
save it for later.
Hit the ground, you'll be found out. And it's right before Michael Keaton's character finds him. And again, I could just be reading into that. I don't want to believe that. Oh, I fucking love that movie.
I do too.
It's a great scene.
What do you think? Protagonist and antagonist?
I'm going to go with George McFly and Biff Tannen in the car scene just during the Enchantment Under the Sea dance and everything. The reason why I love this scene so much is that George and Marty have concocted this way of him showing that he's a fighter, he's and all this other type of stuff, something that will be easy for him to get through and he'll be able to save the day and everything, and this is all going to be staged for him. But the exact right thing in George McFly's life happens, and that is Biff comes in and takes Marty out and goes in and does the very things that Marty says he's going to do, only it was going to be staged. And there's so much at stake with this fight because Biff has been a bully to him his entire life, and he just decides he's going to punch this guy and everything. It's a lifetime and if he doesn't do it, that's the thing. If he doesn't do it, Marty doesn't get born, any of that.
Yep.
The first time, you also compare it to the first timeline where he didn't have to do this to get Lorraine.
Right.
But the side effect of that was that Biff was a bully to him his entire life and still is when we come up to the present day and everything. Now that this confrontation comes into play, he not only gets the timeline back in order, but he also has vanquished the bully.
I said 2 coats of wax on there, Biff.
Yeah.
Don't con me.
Now, Biff, don't con me.
Excellent answer. I guess I'll go with Uma Thurman and Carradine at the end of Kill Bill.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, that's really the best part of that entire
it really is
series.
And I don't know if it's because of, like, it may just be because of all the violence that leads up to it, but it feels so much more impactful for the climax of this movie to basically be a conversation rather than a fight. She's been having these one-on-one fights for 2 movies now. And, Tarantino's always been really good with words and dialogue, and he just finds the right conversation for those 2 people. That's murky-ass shit between these 2.
Mm-hmm.
There's history. But it plays every bit as exciting as the rest of those 2 movies do in terms of action. And it's always been the most impressive scene in both of those movies to me.
Are you saying from the very beginning when she walks in, or like when he truth darts her, or
pretty much from the very beginning when she walks in.
Yeah.
Because you have no idea what to expect.
Yeah, and it's riveting to me.
Well, and they have all these different things these different faces they have to put on during that whole thing. They have to be one way for their daughter, and they're respectful of that. And he even lets her have like a moment with her daughter before that. Then the real shit is about to happen and everything.
Yeah.
And it is the best part of that whole the 2 movies.
Yeah,
for sure.
that's the thing. At the end of the day, I am going to remember Tarantino for those great talking scenes.
Yep.
The first scene in Inglourious Bastards, this climactic scene in Kill Bill 2, more than any of the action that he shot. It's the dialogue.
Totally stole one of my answers.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's no coincidence that we're both picking Tarantino. I'm actually going to go with another one. Now, that beginning with Hans Landa and the French farmer
oh my God.
is some of the most tense stuff. The farmer isn't technically a protagonist or the protagonist because he is a protagonist because he's hiding all these people. But the way that shit builds, and as soon as it pans down to see the people underneath, it's tense already.
Yeah.
Before you know that they're there, because he's playing it so fucking cool. But the one that I just watched recently is the one with Hans Landa and Shoshana Dreyfus. Where he orders her a big glass of milk. I guess he knows, but he doesn't know.
He wants to see if she slips up.
Right. And he
gets it's coffee and he puts cream in it.
Well, yeah, and he gets her. Well, there's two things. So he gets cream in his coffee. He gives her a big old glass of milk, and then the strudel has to have cream.
Yeah,
she can't start eating it. And he's like, la crema.
Yeah,
and
wait for cream.
Yeah.
He's so fucking. I've never seen a character like that.
You think he knows that's Shoshana?
I don't know.
No, I don't think he knows for sure. He can't just randomly kill somebody.
Right.
And I think that he's trying to get her to slip up. And if she does, then he's got a perfect reason.
He just knows there's something that's his talent. Which
is what I have always read that scene as.
Yeah.
Is that he has a radar for someone that is living some measure of a lie.
Yeah.
And he picks up on that in her, but can't pursue it if she doesn't slip up.
Yeah, yeah.
But I never actually thought that he was connecting her to that opening scene at any point. And maybe he is. I've never watched the movie thinking that.
Yeah.
I always just thought there was something off about this theater owner, and so he was going to give her the one.
Oh, yeah. It could just be that he's trying to find out if she's Jewish or something like that.
No, it could totally be. And she plays it off almost as well as the French farmer does at the beginning. Like she's just, short answers, how do you know the guy that came in and all that stuff? He just came into my movie theater, that kind of thing. But the way with the smile that he gets crawls into people's skin is, again, I've never seen a character like that before or after. I know he's kind of approximated those types of characters in other roles, but it's just never done as expertly as it is here, and a lot of that is Tarantino's done.
Yeah. Good stuff.
It reminds me, since you brought up that scene, Shattered Glass has been coming on a lot too, and I've been watching that, Shattered Glass.
Yeah, it's great.
So much. The Peter Sarsgaard stuff with Chloe Sevigny towards the end is so good, where he's like, he's like telling her, he's like, if a guy off the street told you all this stuff that happened and everything, you're a good reporter. Would you believe that? Would you believe him and everything? It's like when he sat there and he told us all these stories and everything, and we let him get away with it because he was entertaining.
Yeah.
It's indefensible.
Yeah.
Don't you know that? And I just, it's so
He
fucking
feels
good.
like he plays that role so well because he feels the weight of the shame that is going to befall the publication.
Yeah.
Right? The integrity is real for him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's personally offended that this guy has none. It's not unlike Albert Brooks and William Hurt's dichotomy in broadcast news, right? Because one is getting by on showiness and the other is getting by on actual work. Anyway.
Yeah. And then and that character is so much more meaningful too, because he's set up even within the movie as an antagonist.
Yeah.
And like all the stuff that you see behind the scenes where Glass is sitting there is like, he's been against me ever since he came in and blah, blah, blah. And just watching him like lie and everything is just this just makes you
Have
weary,
you ever
man.
known a pathological liar like in life? Because the way he asks, whenever somebody comes and says something that he thinks might be danger, he always says, "What's wrong? Are you mad at me?"
Yeah.
Are you mad at me?
Yeah.
I've known people who do that.
Yeah.
The pathological liars that I've known do that. Like as soon as there's any kind of what? Are you mad at me?
Yeah.
You've done something wrong. It's like the nervous dog in the corner who won't look you in the eye.
Hey, time for one more question.
One more.
Awesome.
Hey, hi there. South African fan here. Woohoo.
Hi there.
Really love the videos and have been catching up on the podcast. Is there a film within the past decade or so that you guys feel had some interesting concepts or ideas but was lacking in the execution? And if that film got made, which director would you want to be doing it? Again, love that show and the podcast. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much.
Now, I racked my brain trying to think of that movie that had that concept that I really liked, and then it just didn't pan out or anything like that. And I could not, for the life of me, come up with one, because most movies like that I end up just forgetting, and it's a byproduct of this whole movie theater business that I was in, just constantly seeing movies all
This movie has warped my fragile little mind.
Somebody brought up Push the other day, and I was like, Push, yeah.
The
I
novel
remember
by
some
Sapphire?
no, the sci-fi one with
Chris
Dakota.
Evans.
Dakota.
Not Precious.
No. It was based on the novel Push by Sappho. No, I was like, now see, that one might be a movie that, that could be a movie that I could see with a better director being something better or whatever. But I don't know. I ended up landing on these Friedberg Seltzer movies. Parody genre can be great, and we've seen Airplane, Naked Gun, Hot Shots. All those are solid or even great. When they came out with date movie and epic movie, I feel like these genres do need to be sent up, especially around the time date movie came out. It seemed like there were a lot of these What Happens in Vegas type movies, like just get pretty person A with pretty person B and just see their chemistry or lack thereof or whatever. But the problem with the Friedberg Seltzer, era was that they put in so many at the moment pop culture references. Like I was watching it in the year it came out, and I was like, this is already dated. This is all, and it's not funny too. That's the most important part of it too. Those movies should have had a generic plot outline that's familiar to us, as far as Lord of the Rings or Harry, like epic movie, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Pirates of the Caribbean, all that type of shit. Have a generic thing right in the thing that people that obviously Friedberg and Seltzer sort of didn't notice and they obviously loved movies like Airplane and Naked Gun, is that the Zucker brothers and Jim Abrahams and all these guys would write jokes that didn't have anything to do with the movie or the genre that they were spoofing. And they would just write jokes that were organic and they were good on their own. Airplane is chock full of them and everything. Even though the whole movie is 0 Hour, they took that entire, just took 0 Hour and just made it a comedy. But you're not sitting there going, oh, well, that's Airport 77. Yep. Or, that's Airport the other year.
That's the thing is that they were they were aping genres, right? Whereas the modern ones feel like they're just making callbacks to specific movies. Like the Craig Bierko thing you were talking about the other day about Tom Cruise not being able to throw a baseball, is that you just recreated a moment, but you're not aping a genre with that. It just became a string of, hey, look, we saw this movie too.
Yeah.
And that doesn't play for comedy for me, period, but it also doesn't play long term.
Yeah, and they would always stick in, like, I think Meet the Spartans had the whole who's the dude who was like, leave Britney alone? See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that dude's name, and he was a YouTube sensation. That, leave Britney alone. They stick that in the middle of a fucking Meet the Spartans. And it just, that was the 300 thing or whatever. And, there's a way to do those, and I think they killed it for a while, even though those movies were profitable. They killed it for a while. They killed the idea of doing those type of movies, and they have their place. I
don't think they're coming back either. The most recent one that I can think of is not another teen movie, which is one that I really like.
Well, that's not even recent, actually.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, you mean
that was the last decent parody movie?
Oh, the last decent one. Yeah. But after that, I don't know if it'll ever come back. I mean, I'm sure there'll be somebody that tries. I mean, we've gotten to the point now where stuff is so insane in some of these comedies that they're basically that anyway. They're basically parodies.
Maybe it's just evolving, and we get something like American Vandal that is sort of aping the true crime docuseries.
I just started watching that, by the way. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yep.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
What's the question?
New
I'm
director,
going with Suicide Squad. Because I think that is a clear good idea, a good concept. Superheroes teaming up, but they're the shadier ones. They're the ones that might also kill you in the process of doing whatever you've asked them to do. And even the first trailer was pretty good. But here's the thing. For me personally, I feel like David Ayer works best in the actual real-life gritty crime genre. Like most of his pre-Suicide Squad movies. But Suicide Squad and Bright both enter into these fantastical realms of either fantasy or superheroes and try and merge it with David Ayer's gritty cop kind of thing, and it doesn't really work for me. But I think if you take the sheer concept of Suicide Squad and then you give it to somebody who's got a little bit of a nutso streak, like a Sam Raimi or Terry Gilliam.
Wow, Sam Raimi.
I think you could end up with something that's really watchable. Somebody who's not going to go for gritty crime first.
Yeah.
But embrace the fucking weirdness that is Suicide Squad.
Fucking Terry Gilliam. I like both of those picks.
I do too. I wrote some other shit down that I liked, but this was my favorite idea of all the ones I came up. Because Suicide Squad, I don't think you can deny that's a good idea on paper. And the film didn't work. You've got your diehard Snyder Cut fans out there who probably love Suicide Squad. But in general, that movie was not liked by anyone.
Yeah.
Is that the worst DCEU movie? Oh. My vote would go to Justice League. I hated Justice League with every fiber of my being.
I think Justice League works way better than Suicide Squad.
Thinnest kid at fat camp.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, yeah, we're splitting hairs of terrible things. Because Wonder Woman is the best.
Yeah, oh, totally.
And even that, the sheen has worn off a little for me. Yeah, I'd probably put Suicide Squad at that one or Batman v Superman. I can't abide either one of those.
Yeah, I think it's Batman v Superman for me.
Yeah, it's shitty.
Yeah.
My pick is Passengers.
Oh, I would have probably been all over this if you hadn't stolen it.
But I don't know how you fix Passengers, because you have to have him open up the hatch.
No, you don't.
If you don't have him open up the hatch,
it opens on its own.
Well,
and
but there's no conflict there.
You don't
between
need,
the two.
The conflict is that they're up. The conflict is that they're not going to live through the entire thing.
Well, and so the rest of the stuff, the ship breaking down and all that stuff.
Then
happens.
they work that together and everything. You take out that's fucking unnecessary to me. That whole you opened up my pod.
Yeah, well, see, I'm on board with that. I'm not on board with him eventually being redeemed.
Well, you have to have one or the other, right? You can't have.
I don't think you could.
No. What I'm saying is, he can open up the pod, sure.
Yeah.
But he cannot be with her at the end of the movie.
Exactly. They can still
100% agree.
Yeah.
They can still do their shenanigans and their space stuff and fix the ship and have sudden Larry.
You have to abandon the romance
Yep.
and the happy ending and go dark.
Yes.
You have to embrace. This is like The Player. You have to embrace the dark ending instead of Hollywood ending it. That's what Passengers did. Is Bruce Willis came in at the end and said traffic was a bitch.
Yeah.
That's the problem with this movie. I think you're going to answer. You're going to give the rest of your answer here in a minute, but I think you're right. If he opens the pod, it has to go dark and be a completely unredeemable character in a different movie. If he doesn't open the pod, I think you can have the movie you have here with a happy ending and the trees and the chickens and the what
and the Andy Garcia.
But but I don't think. I mean, if he doesn't open the pod and if it just opens by itself. For whatever reason, I think that just doesn't give a lot of layers. Yeah, they can get into it. It turns into a standard action film.
Again, I've said this before, but you should have the pod open on its own and go the whole movie. And then at the very end, she finds out, oh no, he opened it.
Yes, there's a million different ways to fix this movie.
Everything is fucked. And
every single there's 3 different ways to do this movie, and they took the wrong one.
Yeah,
exactly. But if you have somebody, I actually put Ridley Scott on here because he's shown that he can do engaging space stuff many times, but fairly recently with the Martian. But I think Danny Boyle, could take either of those directions, where it's either the whammy ending or something like that, or if it's the dark way where he's never redeemed and everything, but he does save the ship. Maybe he ends up floating off into space.
I like that.
Yeah,
like the Train Spotting Danny Boyle, Sunshine Danny Boyle. I could take the dark angle that we've kind of floated out there. But if you're going to go the bright angle where her pod opens on its own and they end up together, then Ridley Scott is actually the perfect choice.
Yeah.
Happy ending.
He would make it a straightforward, adventurous or, space movie.
Yes.
And that would be fine. It's not like people got into a lot of conflict in The Martian. Most people actually work together. And everybody's, pretty conflict-free. It's just Mark Watney. Poor Mark Watney getting his ass
Conflict is
kicked.
basically Mars.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I want to fix that movie so bad because I love Michael Sheen and I love the way it looks. And I love the
everybody in that movie.
Yeah.
I've given a lot of my time to that movie, way more than its quality should suggest.
Regardless of who takes it, we need an Andy Garcia cameo.
We do.
No more than 20 seconds.
He's popping up in NFL commercials now too.
Is he really?
Yeah, there's a whole thing where an NFL player calls him.
Oh yeah.
Like I think one's Todd Gurley, and he calls Todd Gurley. And he's like, "I've got something for you, but hold on, I got to go somewhere else." And he like goes to another phone and calls. He's like, "All right, are you there? All right, good. I need to call you from another phone or whatever." And then he finally gets to one last phone. He's like, "All right, do this or whatever on your
that's right. And he's in bed. Yeah, that's right.
All right. So we got to some goddamn questions.
That's right, baby.
2 questions, but we got to them, motherfuckers. Anyway, keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook, SoundCloud, Twitter, Reddit. There are a million ways to come and find us and comment on this very episode. Thank you for coming out. Last time when I asked what was the deal with the comments, a lot of you came out and gave me comments. Nice. I appreciate that. I will usually get to you. If you say something, only nice things though.
That's right.
No mean things.
Nothing about my mama.
I'll never talk to you then.
I love my mama.
Yeah. But anyway, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Scher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
If I'm curt with you, it means time is a factor. I think fast, I talk fast. Need you guys to act fast if you're going to get through this. Now, please, with sugar on top, clean the fucking car.
You ever, you watch the old X-Files shows, it would always cut away, like when Mulder was talking to Scully on their cell phones and he's driving and stuff like that. And she'd say something like, "Mulder, what are you going to do?" And he's like, "Something that should have been a long time ago. It's been done a long time." And he'll like hang up. There's no goodbye. There's no like, "All right, well, I'll talk to you later." Yeah. Even like in the middle of like Mulder, where do you go next? And he'll just hang up the fucking
I know.
phone.
I would say about 75% of phone interactions are like that in movies. There's always that no bye, no nothing. Just
I get that it's not very cinematic.
But I mean, just saying bye is easy enough. Yeah. I mean, it's not like.
So I actually started because I was infatuated with the X-Files, like a dick move in high school or college or something like that, where I stopped saying bye on the phone. I just hang up, and it wasn't being rude. I was just doing it just to see if it was necessary to actually say bye, whatever. And people got used to it. They were like, "Oh, Barrett never says bye."
Oh man, my wife would not tolerate that. My wife is too into like the conversational scripts that we have. Like, if I don't say the it's got to be.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to make my wife look bad.
No. That's how I got out of that habit. Actually, is my wife was like, "No, that's not going to work for me.
You will say goodbye to me so that I know the call is over. And
I got to get an I love you
I've said.
And then there's a bye. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got out of that habit. It was a little bit liberating, though. I got to be honest with you. Like just after you're done talking, instead of going like, "Huh? All right. Okay. All right. Well, I'll talk to you later. Okay. See ya. Bye."
Yeah.
You're such an anarchist.
I'm a bad man.
Yes. Sorry. This is
sweet. Booty call. It's happening right now.
Totally.
It's like in Passengers when Jennifer Lawrence is like begging Lawrence Fishburne, "Can't we just go back?" And he's like, "It would take longer to go back to Earth than we're going where we're going."
Yeah.